Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Gens Before Friends, episode 26.
Whoop,
I,
whoop.
yeah, I'm here with my friends. We have Queen Amgie
Hello.
and Morbid Plum.
Hello.
And today we are going to be diving into behavior and them as a company mainly because there's been a lot going on with behavior. And if you're just a casual player of DBD, you might not know what all has been going on, but there's been a lot going on with them as far as canceled projects, laying off employees this year. So we're going to dive into all of that and kind of do a short history lesson on behavior. We're not going to go super far back, but let's talk about first what games they put out. The first game they came out with, obviously, was Dead by Daylight. That came out June 14th, 2016. And initially, when they made DVD, they were not planning for it to last this long. It was supposed to be a short-term game, and it's still here 8 years later. And
Surviving.
yeah, it's surviving. It's surviving. And I mean, I think once they put the Halloween chapter in, they knew they were in it for the long
hmm
haul. But what I remember hearing about was initially they weren't really planning on it being, of course, not this long, but long term in general. The next game they came out with was August 14th, 2018. They had Death Garden. And I never got to play Death Garden, but it is a shooter. I think it's like PvP,
hmm
like teams against each other. There are some cosmetics in DVD for Death Garden if you had like installed Death Garden right before they closed it, but it is no longer in existence. Then in 2020, let's see, March 26, 2020, they had a mobile game for Game of Thrones called Beyond the Wall.
Had no clue that happens.
Yeah, we learned a lot doing this research. There were games we didn't know they did. They also had another mobile game. This was June 20th, 2022, Jurassic World Primal Ops. And then more well-known one, August 22nd, 2022, we got Hooked on You, which is the
hmm
DVD dating sim, which we're going to talk about more later. In the player satisfaction surveys, DVD, they had kept putting like dating sim as like a game option. Like, would you like to see what style of game? And dating sim would be on there. And
That
finally,
was me.
they
I
came
jokingly
out.
picked it every single time.
They came out with a dating sim, and Queen AMG has played it. We're gonna talk more about Hooked on You in a little bit,
Many a time.
but yes, they came out with this game, and I don't think anyone expected it. In let's see, September 27th, 2022, so like a month, a little over a month later, they came out with another game called Flippin' Misfits, which I'd never heard of before.
No.
Same.
Don't know don't know anything about Flippin' Misfits, but they came out with that. And then a more well-known game that came out April 4th, 2023, Meet Your Maker.
hmm
This one kind of started off okay, as far as I'm aware. This is a level building game, so the objective is to get the I don't know what they call it. You have to get something in the middle, crystal orb or something. But basically, players can make their own levels, and other players can try them and play them and see if
Yeah.
they can get successful. So if you're creating the level, you get to place different traps down, have different, I guess, like enemies for people to go against in certain spots. So I know there are people that are really passionate about this game. And in DVD, again, they came out with Meet Your Maker cosmetics, shirts for the survivors. That was 2023. And then jumping to this year, February 13th, 2024, we had Islands of Insight, which is a,
Rest in peace.
yeah, we're going to talk about that too. It's a puzzle game.
You
We
know.
did not play it.
I did.
Well,
I was like, Queen did.
Queen tried.
I
We're gonna
tried.
we're gonna get to more of that Islands of Insight, but it has very good reviews on Steam
Mm.
as far as being a really good puzzle game. And then May 14th, 2024, What the Fog. This dropped unexpectedly during a live stream, but
Yeah.
this is a really cute game, and I wish they would have done more with it.
Freaking adorable.
Where you have the survivors, you have Dwight, Claude, or Fang, and you battle enemies and get through the levels. It's really cute. But they dropped it for free, or you could have paid $5 for it. I think it's really fun. I wish they would have done more with it. I
Yeah,
think it's a missed opportunity, honestly. Um,
agreed.
and then, of course, September 4th, 2024, Casting of Frank Stone. Now, this was made by Supermassive Games, but Behavior is the publisher, and it's obviously connected to Dead by Daylight, so we're including it in this list because it is their IP. So, and we have not finished playing Frank Stone yet, so
Hmm.
we'll eventually give our review on Frank Stone. It's been mixed, is my understanding. Some people really love the game, and then some people not so much, or think it's just it's okay. So we'll
Hmm.
have to let y'all know when we finish. But that is the most recent game to come out. Do y'all have?
And just to sidestep, for those that don't realize, I am doing a playthrough of the casting of Frank Stone, and it
Yes.
is on the YouTube channel.
Yes.
So if you want to go and check it out, we already have 2 parts up. And I do have my emotional support person, Mockingbird, who is co-chairing the game with me. So
Yes.
you get to hear our commentary and you get to hear all my reactions
Yes. This is
as I play through the game.
this is Queen's
Terror
first
live.
Mm-hmm.
supermassive game. I've played a few of
Yes.
them. I've played Little Hope, House of Ashes, and Man of Medan. So this is Queen's first playthrough of
And
any
y'all know
supermassive
that
game.
I love horror games so much.
It's wonderful.
Look, I want to hear nothing. What am I playing right now? Silent Hill 2 remake, and it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. But it's definitely more scary than supermassive choice-based
Yep.
gameplay.
She was playing it earlier, and for some reason the game switched to her
Oh, my
computer
speakers.
speakers. So I heard this smashing through her mic, and I thought someone was breaking into my apartment, and she didn't know what was happening. You just heard her go, "Oh!"
I know it scared me
until
too.
we figured
So
out what was going on. It scared us.
yeah, it was a lovely nurse, coming to check on me.
Hmm.
Any thoughts on the games? Didn't play Def Garden. I guess we'll get more into
Mm-mm.
game reviews as we get on, but yeah, some of these didn't even know they made them. And let me also say, Behavior has helped with other games like the
Hmm.
Silent Hill. What was it? Ascension. They helped develop that. I
Yeah,
guess you could call it a game.
they have a
Um,
very large portfolio on their website that you can
Yeah.
yeah.
for all games they've assisted with, which is a lot.
Yeah, so they've assisted with other games. So this list is what they have published themselves.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
this is
They
that they've
had,
had total control over.
yeah, they've done like Fallout Shelter, I believe, for mobile and PC, which was a
Hmm.
big one, but they were like part of that project.
Yeah.
And like we said, like other bigger projects, like I guess like they were partner games, I guess you could say. They worked
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
other studios, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So basically, like kind of what I've seen, which we'll get into with some of these other studios they acquired. Some studios just kind of specialize in certain parts of gaming. So they may not publish a full game, but one of the ones they bought like does a lot of porting or whatever for games. So yeah, they've assisted on other games as well, but this is their list of what they have published. Let's go through a little bit of a timeline. We're just going to go back to 2022. Behavior's been around since 1992, I believe. We're not going to go that far back. We're going to go back to May 2022. This is when they acquired Midwinter. So we're going
Hmm.
to talk a little bit more about Midwinter in a minute in the timeline. But Midwinter was the one they gave Project T to. But they acquired them in 2022. Silent Hill Ascension game was announced October 26, 2022. Again, that's another game they helped with and they were a part of, but they're not the main, I guess, publisher would be the way to put it. Let's see. Also in October 27, 2022, they collaborated with Titan Comics. This was for the comic book, I believe, on the Legion.
Hmm.
And then going to February 23rd, 2023, Behavior buys Sock Monkey, and this studio becomes their Behavior UK location. So this is the first company we see them buying. March 1st, 2023, we have the Blumhouse movies announced. So there's going to be a DVD movie with Blumhouse. Haven't seen anything else on that recently. So
Yeah, not since like they announced it.
yeah, I'm sure it's like in a pre production phase. So we don't know what the movie's going to be about exactly, if it's going to be over existing characters or if it's going to be more like Frank Stone and have new content. I would think it's going to be on existing content, but we don't know yet. So we'll just have to wait and see. July 1st, 2023, they open a new office and it's their UK South location. And then, okay, I have two dates for this one. Code Glue acquisition. This is another studio they acquired. On their website, they have two press releases that are very similar. So I don't know which date it's supposed to be, but they're only a few months apart. It's either going to be August 22nd or November 16th, 2023, as they acquired the studio. And then jumping to this year, where we kind of get into more of the drama of it all. January 19th, 2024, Behavior lays off 45 employees. So this is the first layoff we see with Behavior after buying all of these studios the previous year. I also put on this timeline in April 24th. They had this Behavior top 10 places to work in Canada. Now, if you go on their press releases, they have tons of these articles of like they're the best place to work at in Canada. So this isn't the only one, but I kind of just wanted to throw one in here to talk about that they have a lot of these press releases of we're the best place to work. And I don't know with some of these layoffs, are they? We shall see. April 30th, they announced their partnership with Hanier Studio. I don't know if I said that right. For Blight Survival. So Blight Survival has been in development by this other studio, and now Behavior's working with them to, I guess, continue developing it and publish it. Then in May 14th, 2024, the Insider program for Project T is announced. So I can't remember which live stream it was. They announced a lot of their upcoming projects during a live stream earlier this year where Project T was announced and also casting of Frank Stone was highlighted. And so Project T was going to be a game set in the entities realm with characters that were called trespassers, and it was going to be a third person shooting game, I believe. They announced that. So the Insider program was where you could sign up and be a part of the playtest. They were going to get a lot of feedback from the community and use that for developing the game. Then we get to June 4th, 2024, and Behavior announces that they laid off 95 employees.
Yep.
And this one was, I think, a big deal because it was a bigger number, but also content creators, especially Fog Whispers, were not happy because they fired, was her name May? I'm trying to remember. She was like the liaison between the Fog Whispers and
Yeah.
Behavior, and they were all upset and didn't understand why they got rid of her. So that was really disappointing, and I don't know if they replaced her or what the deal was with that, but I feel like they got a lot of backlash over this.
Yeah.
And then September 18th, Midwinter is shut down and they cancel Project T. They talked about that they did like a risk assessment and they decided to not move forward with the project. This was after they had done a playtest, and I don't think we got to see really any footage. Like people that did the
Yeah.
playtest, I don't think were allowed to record it, so we didn't see
Yeah.
any raw footage of that. But kind of how it was described was kind of a Left 4 Dead feel shooter game, but it was open world, I believe. So I know Polyester talked about it a bit, and he thought it was kind of fairly polished for like an alpha test. They just canceled it. And what did you want to add, Queen?
No, I said, and Polly liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Polly enjoyed it. It takes place inside the entities realm, so it's a continuation of lore in a place I believe called, was it the Backwater Swamp?
I think so.
I
Something like
believe
that.
so. Yeah. And Polly kind of gave it rave reviews.
I thought I
And
got rave reviews too, because then I thought they released the
yeah.
feedback and it was like
Hmm.
fairly positive.
Mhm.
It was like
Yeah,
80 something out of 100 in regards to like a score, how well it did.
yeah, people said it
And
was fun and, like, even, like, just playing it was cool, so
yeah, people were
yeah.
excited. And we were part of the Discord.
Yeah,
So,
and we all signed up for the
mhm.
like, the play test and stuff, that way if it when it came out, we could do it, but yeah.
Yeah, we were not chosen
But
for the playtest, so we don't have any
yeah,
firsthand experience with Project
we
T.
tried.
We
Mhm.
tried.
We signed up for it,
We were not the
but we didn't
chosen
get it.
ones. But along with the midwinter shutdown, they offered the employees to continue working at Behavior. They could relocate to the Canada office, or if they didn't want to do that, they would get hopefully a nice severance package. They said severance package.
Mhm.
So not totally unemployed, but it would depend if you would want to hop to different country because Midwinter is in Seattle, I believe. So
Yeah. It wasn't Seattle.
that's what I thought you said. Yeah, it's in Seattle. So it depends if you'd want to move to Canada, different
Yeah.
country and all of that. So it didn't like leave them all hung out to dry at least. But what was strange was within a week,
Mhm.
September 24th, they announced that they purchased Red Hook Studios. Red Hook is the developers for Darkest Dungeon and Darkest Dungeon 2, which are very successful. We have not played them.
Mhm.
We did, I know me and Queen recently bought Darkest
Yep.
Dungeon. It was on sale, so we'll
It's
have
on
to give it a
sale
go.
still.
But overall,
3.99.
yeah, but overall, it's like sold really well. So basically, with this purchase behavior, what they have said is they're going to pretty much leave Red Hook alone and let them develop probably Darkest Dungeon 3. But basically, I think Beaver is going to be kind of the financial backer for the studio so they can develop their game. Because going back to that Rift assessment thing,
Mhm.
purchasing Red Hook is a pretty safe bet given their track record
Mhm.
on their games and their game selling well. So I'm sure Behavior sees this as a pretty safe investment.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much where we're at now with all of the different studios they have purchased, layoffs for this year. So, what are y'all thoughts on all of this craziness going on with Behavior as a company?
I have thoughts. What, Morbid, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like kind of what you said of at least with Red Hook, like it's a pretty sure bet kind of thing. Like, they have already come out with the games that were successful. And I'm not sure if Midwinter had come out with too many successful games
I
as
couldn't
far
find
as
I couldn't find much on
yeah,
Midwinter.
I couldn't find much either, so it seems like maybe they just were trying to acquire, like an outsourced way of going with things and then they were just like, maybe it's not going to work out, so who knows. It is curious, like the layoffs, like who they laid off. I guess it was just a lot of developers. And yeah, it would be, I mean, I know they're not going to make all this stuff public, but it would be nice to see a lot of things, like what was the reasoning for getting rid of them? Were their roles redundant? Were they just like, oh, we can't afford to pay you because we've been buying all these studios? Like, it'd be nice to know that, kind of thing. Yeah, it's interesting to see the progress of what they're doing. Like, are they buying these studios for purposes, like more games? Because if that's the case, then why do they keep canceling old games? Or not old games, but projects that haven't even come to fruition yet? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious to know more about that, which we may never get the answer to, but I'm just, I'm a curious person. I need to know these things.
Yeah, we're gonna.
um,
So let me add this in real quick. So in one of their press releases, they talk about that they've increased their number of employees from 575 to 1,300 in the last 5 years. So they have jumped up a lot in the past 5 years. Now,
yeah.
of course, part of that time was COVID, and during
Hmm.
COVID,
Yeah, of course.
gaming was probably did really well, right? Because people were stuck at home.
I mean, that's when we started playing. Well, I mean, I started playing with you guys was during COVID.
Hmm.
Yeah. Right for it.
Yeah. They're not the little indie studio anymore that they once were when
Yeah,
DBD came out.
that was my other thing that I was going to add is that, they're not, which we'll talk about more too, is they're not really that indie anymore. And I think that some of the fan base may not realize, hey, this isn't so much of an indie place. Like they can acquire other studios for purposes of creating games and um, making their portfolio bigger. So Dead by Daylight's a huge game, and I forget that sometimes. I'm like, oh, it's just this cute little game we play, and it's like, oh, it's actually pretty. It's pretty big.
Yeah, it is pretty big. I found an article recently that was talking about like the top horror games, and DVD was on the list, but I didn't know exactly how
Mhm.
much money it's made because, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about live service games, but like with DVD, right? They come out with new DLCs all the time and
hmm
cosmetics,
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's obviously making money. They're still going 8 years in, so
yeah, the
there's no.
licenses alone are
Hmm.
like crazy.
So yeah, they're making plenty of money off of DVD. So, Queen,
I
did you
mean,
have
Dead
any
yeah.
thoughts?
I mean, Dead by Daylight is their moneymaker. Uh,
hmm
that's their main game that's been successful. And part of that, I think, is because it's so niche in
Mm-hmm.
what it does. And you've had these other games come out and try to, I don't want to say compete with it, but do the same thing. And they have failed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I think is trying to make a resurgence. It didn't fare well compared to, you know, DBD did. And then you have Killer Clowns. You have what was the one that was that like high school one that you guys played when you're in the school?
You're talking about last year?
Yes.
I never played last year, but I've seen it.
No, not last year. There's one that you guys did play.
Is it the one with the? Was it the prop hunt one? Where I remember we
Oh,
were in
there
the
is
high
that
school.
prop hun one.
Oh,
And there
okay.
was another one. Was it Home Sweet Home?
Oh, the one. Yes, yes, yes. Home Sweet Home Survive. I
Mhm.
think now it's renamed
Mhm.
Oh,
Online,
right. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I
which
think they might be shutting that one down.
I don't
The
know.
online.
I tried to play it again, but I don't know. It's really I don't know what it's doing now. At the time, it was really big in Asia, obviously, because it's
Mhm.
based off
Yeah.
an Asian horror game that is phenomenal, by the way, Home Sweet Home. But
But yeah, like the
yeah,
online version of it that we played a few times, it was fine. It was very glitchy, but I believe like that one that came out, the online version, they're like officially shutting it
are
down
they?
to play online.
Yeah, so that one was also a 1v4.
And it was
It was
similar.
interesting, but yeah, I feel like because I did try to play it again by myself, and I don't think they had really any servers in the US, so I had issues like even trying to get on it,
Mhm.
and I gave up. So I don't
I
think it
think
was a bad game, but yeah, but it's very that one is super niche because I don't think the title overall is that well known in
yeah.
the US. I guess I'll say
hmm
North America. I mean, I've heard of the game. I've watched other people play the main like game, not the multiplayer, and it's a phenomenal like horror game, especially the first chapter. But yeah, I feel like that one was like very niche to a specific audience.
Audience.
Not a bad game, but yeah, it's sad that that one's shutting down. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Queen? Now that
Oh
we
yeah,
figured out the
but
game,
to say,
I
I know I was
remember.
trying to think what it was, but I feel like DBD is consistently because they do have more updates. They are expanding in regards to how they're doing their content with the modifiers they've add. People hear about it more, and I think that it's even used in place of other games that have taken longer for updates to come out. For example, Phasmophobia, how long it's taken for those updates to come out. Labyrinthine, how long it's taken for those updates to come out. And when you're thinking of like co-op survival, the one that's consistently been around
hmm
and updated is Dead by Daylight. Despite all the issues and stuff they had, I recently told Mocking, I was like, hey, I want to start maybe looking to playing Devour. But that itself has overshadowed by Dead by Daylight. And it's kind of the same concept. But I feel like Behavior still kind of acts like the indie studio when they're not. And even in recently, when King did his interview with Matthew Cote, Matthew even brought that up in regards to like, hey, we're bigger now. There's more things we have access to. And I think it was even kind of in the context of we're learning that we're bigger now. So maybe they're just realizing that they're bigger now in regards to what they can do. And I kind of find it weird when I see the things that they're doing with their games. And then being someone who's, I'm not a big person when it comes to like liking shooter games, but I was actually really excited for Project T because it was based in DVD lore, which I thoroughly enjoy.
I was
And
too. I was
I
very
know.
excited.
And I was like, this seems really cool if we get another aspect of the story and we're not kind of locked into just trials
Hmm.
where it's more of an open world type thing and you run around and you meet whatever enemies you have. It's still survival. You still have your friends. You have these characters that you can play. I was super excited. And then to have first it come out that the project was being canceled and then that they were closing the studio. And then kind of right after it, oh, we purchased Red Hook. I think there was just a lot of confusion. I
Yeah,
was like, why are you doing this? It
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense.
yeah, because there's
And
only like 4 months between them announcing the Insider program and then them shutting it down.
yes.
Like it was
Yeah.
very, in the grand scheme of things, there's very little time for them to like make a decision because they had like one play test and then they decided to shut it down. And the
Hmm.
play
Yeah.
test wasn't even negatively received
Hmm.
either. So that I think that's what is also puzzling on all this.
Yeah, and I wish that we got some more information. Like we deep dive, we read like all the press releases, and I think Mocking's going to be going through some of the press releases. It, the actions that they're taking, and the other things we're going to talk to you about in regards to other games that they realized that, well, that we realized they're going to be shutting down. It makes me think either they're trying to do something big, or they're trying to accumulate resources or funds for something that hasn't been revealed yet because it doesn't make sense to not even give this game a chance. But is it because there is a risk assessment that was done and apparently it was just too risky? But is that because, is the market oversaturated with that stuff? Or is there something else going on and they just felt like, hey, let's just cut our losses now so we can save up for Project XYZ?
Hmm.
It's just
Oh,
kind of
I had that
confusing.
question as
Uh,
well.
yeah, why they did what they did, just completely abandon one project, buy another studio, I guess hoping to get revenue because it's doing well. Darkest Dungeons, like again, we never played. I did buy it to play, but apparently it's a pretty good game people enjoy. So I just want to know what they're doing. Like I want to be like Matthew Cote. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Your thoughts. I have questions, comments, concerns.
we all have questions. Well, let's talk about this is along the same vein of like games that were abandoned. We talked a little bit about Death Garden. Unfortunately, none of us played Death Garden,
Hmm.
Yeah.
so we can't really say too much about that. But it just didn't take off. Is pretty much what I got out of that. But then also we had well, actually, before we get Islands of Insight, because I had asked Queen the other day to give me
Yeah.
her review of Hooked on You
Hmm.
because I have not played it. I don't think Morbid's played it,
I've only watched.
and and I have never played dating sims, so I am not like versed in the dating sim games. So, Queen, would you tell us what you thought about Hooked on You? Because we haven't seen anything else about
Hmm.
Hooked on You 2 or DLC. They never did DLCs for Hooked on You or added any other killers, which I think some people were hoping for,
Yes.
or a Hooked on You 2. So it's been two
Hmm.
years since Hooked on You came out. So what did you think of Hooked on You?
Yeah, as the resident dating sim player, I'm happy to help with this. So, Hooked on You, of course, as soon as they said it was coming out, I pre-ordered that baby. I was like, I am ready. I'm going to date the heck out of everybody. So, just to give you guys an idea, Hooked on You, again, it's a dating sim where You end up on this island, and there is a trapper, wraith, huntress, and spirit, and you get the opportunity to date them if they don't kill you. So, I guess there's an aspect of horror. On the island as well are Dwight and Claude, who are kind of like servants to the killers, so to speak, and they try to keep you out of trouble as best they can. But it is like a choose your own adventure where the options that you choose affect the outcome for your relationships and things that happen in the story. I will say that for a dating sim, it is pretty linear. There aren't like tons of choices, and everything pretty much ends up the same depending on. I'm just trying to find a good way to say this. It's not like there's tons of options that are going to happen at the end. You kind of have either one of three things. You either fall in love with somebody, and if you don't die, you get to be with them, or you fall in love with somebody and you decide, you know what, I'm going to be a bitch and betray them, and at the end, you break their heart. Or you can friend zone everybody and just be another person on the island. I have yet to friend zone anybody because I just like to date people, and I just haven't figured out how to get that ending yet. It's not super replayable. Once you kind of go through the different endings for everybody, it's not like you can go through and be like, well, I want to find the things that I've never seen before. It's all pretty much the same. There are achievements that you can get in Steam, and I, as you know, am a resident achievement whore. I'm at 86% right now. But even the achievements are kind of tedious. Like they have one achievement where you have to play through the different storylines for each character's 8 times. So, for example, you have to play through the good ending 8 times where you end up with them, and the bad ending 8 times when you betray them. That's a lot of playing through.
Yeah.
How long would you say the game is? Like a playthrough
Oh my god.
estimate, or if you don't know, that's fine. I was just
Estimate.
curious because you're saying like basically play this 8 times. So like, how many hours do you
Yeah.
have to
Well,
devote
I've
to?
already played for 8 hours. I would say my first playthrough, because you're just trying to figure it out the first time, was m- maybe 2 hours, and that's a big estimate. I want to put it more towards like an hour and a half.
Is that
But
short for dating sim? It seems short.
yes,
Okay.
it
Yeah, I
it
feel like
it
you
is
would
short.
spend
The first day it
more.
came out is the first day I played through it and I got everything. Now I laughed the first time. Like the first time you play through it's very novel. It's very funny. There's a narrator there that's kind of like the ocean is narrating things to you. The entity pops in and tries to mess stuff up. It has some humor. Not everybody's going to like the humor. It's kind of sarcastic. It's kind of breaking the third wall type humor, which I enjoy. So I was like, ah, that's funny. And I would move on. you know, the different characters, their personalities, of course, are outrageous and over the top. Wraith is your little sad boy. Trapper is your, you know, jock. Huntress is kind of a jock, pretty girl. And then Spirit is your goth girl, essentially. So they do kind of have stereotypical behaviors. Matthew Cote himself even said, because in the interview that King really recently did with Polly, and they interviewed Matthew Cote, they asked about Hooked on You in regards to if Matthew Cote viewed it as a success. And he essentially said it was a success for what it was, because they didn't go into it with the expectation that it was going to make tons of money. But what it did do was it brought in a heck ton of press,
Hmm.
and it made the community happy. Like it really upped
Hmm.
community engagement in regards to like cosplays, art, and yes, fan fiction.
Ooh.
Oh.
And I mean, who didn't want to see Trapper in a thong? Not me. I personally am a Wraith lover in the story. But it was good. It was good for what it was. people shouldn't have had high expectations of it. I did not going into it, and I think that's why I enjoyed it. And I think that's why I'm still gonna 100% it, because I still enjoy kind of going through the storylines. But was it an amazing dating sim? If you are a dating sim person, like those are the types of games you play, there are a lot more involved ones than this. This was specifically catered to the Dead by Daylight community and of all of us saying that we wanted to date people. Unfortunately, I don't think they put in the characters that everyone really wanted to date, but they put in some main popular characters. They also did some things where throughout the game they teased you, thinking that we might see other killers, and that never really happened. Again, there's no plans for any updates. They did take some of the artwork is actually really nice, and some of the costumes they have, the survivors and killers, and are really nice. They did put those into the game, so you can get Dwight and Claude's costume, like their uniform for working at the beach resort, and you can get Huntress's beach outfit and Spirit's beach outfit from the game, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, they were really pretty.
They're really nice. Matthew Cote did say he doesn't have any plans on bringing in Trapper's little thong boy outfit. So
Oh,
I'm sorry. That's
sad.
what I really wanted. For what it was good. I can see why some people were disappointed and wished they would have done better on it, but it was probably cheap to make and it got something pushed out just to make people happy. If you go in with that mindset, it's a funny, cute little game, but don't expect it to be on the level of other more well-known dating sims or cozy games that have dating sims in it. This is as close as you're going to get to Dead by Daylight being a quote unquote cozy game, is hooked on you. But that's kind of my review. I like it. Is it the most amazeballs? No. Does it make me giggle? Yes. Do I think there's an opportunity for them to do more with it? Yes. And I'm kind of sad they don't, because I would totally buy DLCs with other added killers. I think that's kind of where they missed the mark, was the opportunity to continue growing it. If it does help with community engagement, like they said, and if it did create positive press, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to pour a little more into the game, since dating sims are kind of big right now. Why not polish this one to make it better? And then you have another source of revenue, and it would make me happy.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I want to meet Queen Happy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the interview with Matthew Cote with King and Polly. I was
Hmm.
going to. Yeah, it basically sounded like it was a fan service game.
Yes.
And but yeah, I think you're right. They missed the mark to do more because of it
Hmm.
it's we're going to get to them missing the mark a lot. But
I was like, I have
it's
more to say,
it's
but
like
yeah.
if it was so positively received
Anyone wants to
and
see a playthrough?
Right?
I mean, I'm not a game developer, okay, so I don't know how hard it is to make a dating sim, but it seems like because there's not really that much, correct me if I'm wrong, animation and stuff, it's typically like text and like
Yeah.
pictures move. Like it's
Hmm.
not like Project T was going to be, right? Where you got a third person shooter and
Hmm. Like
really like
really
in
intense
depth,
graphics.
yeah,
Yeah.
intense graphic, a lot of intricate gameplay. Like it's pretty straightforward, I feel like structure wise. And I mean, the closest I've gotten to playing anything, well, it's not really a dating sim. I recently played Doki Doki Literature Club, which is like a horror
That's
interactive,
cute.
like graphic, it's a visual novel, I guess is what you would put it as. But yeah, like that one is super like text and then like the picture of the characters move on the screen and off the
Hmm.
screen and stuff. So
It's basically the same thing.
yeah, I
It's
don't.
artwork. It's like little
Mhm.
cards.
So it's like in my mind, again, not game developer, but in my mind, I'm like, that's probably not super expensive to make, especially
Hmm.
in comparison to like DVD and what they have to make for chapters and,
Yeah.
models of characters and all of that. So
I
yeah,
think it'd be
come
easier
out.
to maintain too. Like you could easily put out DLCs or something for this, because
Oh yeah,
it,
100%.
and he explained it barely costs nothing to make. It was very simple for them to do, and they own that content, and they put in little, I would say, Easter egg kind of thing to be like, oh, maybe you can make it to this island because so and so's there.
I know who
And
you're
of
talking
course,
about.
Yeah. And of course, like the whole time, I'm just trying to find, the ending to date Trickster, which wasn't there. And I think I got an achievement for them saying, "Oh, you were trying to find the Trickster ending," or I'm working on that one. That might be the one I have to do things like 8 times. Again, it was fun for what it was. I really wish they would have done more with it, just to like, extra fan service. People had so much fun streaming this game. They were doing amazing cosplays. It was just like a fun time for the community.
Hmm.
Spooky played it. I laughed my ass
Yeah, I was
off.
about to
Yeah,
say, you got content creators that don't normally play dating sims playing a dating sim
It was
because it's
so funny.
DVD, and they're probably like, "What is this?" Like,
it was great.
hmm It was hilarious. So I do approve it. Is it the most amazing dating sim I've ever played? No, not at all. Did I enjoy it because it was what it was and it was related to DVD, and there was lore drop in it, and you got to meet other characters. So you got to meet other characters that were associated with like Trapper and Huntress and stuff like that, family members
oh,
and like grandparents and relations. So it was extremely interesting. You got an insight into their life, into why they are the way they are, like
That's
what
cool.
happened to them. It's very interesting. They tell stories that relate to their life or their personalities, and it's extremely interesting. So I appreciate that as well, that they added lore. But yeah, I really wish they would have done more with it. And I know some people are like, well, it was stupid. And I'm like, that's the whole point. It was stupid. It made people laugh. It was a fun
Yeah.
time.
It wasn't like some, in-depth thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. If it gives people enjoyment, who cares?
Exactly.
Like, who cares?
It hurt
It
no
did what it
one.
was supposed to do.
At least
Exactly.
I
It did
don't
what it
think
was
it did.
supposed to do. Not unless you're traumatized.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there was some trauma, but.
And if so, it was probably because they dated Trapper. So
Yeah.
just don't date Trapper. Go with Sad Boy Wraith.
oh.
Thank you.
Okay, so Behavior, we need Hooked on You 2 to come out this Christmas. Thank you. That'd be a great
Yes.
Christmas
Agreed.
gift.
Or like some DLCs. Like it
Add some other killers in there.
yeah, it has to be easy to add a DLC.
It has to be. I would buy it. You'd have at least one sale from me, and that's all you need.
Yep.
How many more do you need?
Yeah, you're welcome. Behavior.
Well, let's talk about another game. Queen's just going to keep talking because we're going to talk
Oh
about
God, here
Island
we
of
go.
She's
Insight.
played all the games.
Well, there's a little bit of a
Makes me
story
so
with Islands
angry.
of Insight. So, Islands of Insight came out February of this year.
Mhm. Mhm.
For the most part, I believe on Steam it has positive
It
reviews. At least before,
had.
well, okay, we're going to get to the had part. Initially, it had positive reviews as being a really good puzzle game, but there have been some issues with it. It's been buggy and they have not fixed the bugs. And recently, Queen went to buy the game. She had
Mhm.
played the demo version of it.
Mhm.
And so, Queen, what happened when you went to buy the game
Oh, yeah.
recently? It
Okay.
was like
Let
last
me
week,
tell you.
right?
Yeah, I would be happy to explain. I, first of all, love puzzle games. Go check out my Steam. Half of it is puzzle games. I'm a big puzzle game girly, okay?
She is.
So I played the demo because I was trying to, because I'm going to admit, $29 for a puzzle game, kind of steep for what it was. It didn't necessarily have a storyline that I know of. I don't know because I didn't get to play.
Keep going, keep going. It's
I
okay.
know, I know.
Wipe the tears.
The
Just
thing I
breathe
liked
through
about
breathe.
it is it was a open world puzzle game that you could play with your friends. That's how it was advertised. So I was like, "Oh, if I like it, maybe I can get everyone to play it with me and we can have a good time flying around in this beautiful world, solving puzzles together and just having like a good night with wine, like whatever, chill hangout time." I played the demo for maybe like an hour. I liked the direction it was going. I was not sure about it because I was like, do I really want to drop $30 for this? When after playing the demo, I was like, okay, I see the possibilities, but it didn't like hook me. So, not too long ago, last week, I guess, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a plunge because demos are demos. They don't necessarily show like the whole aspect of the game. And some of my complaints were like, it feels like for creating your character, so you get to create your character. I was like, I felt very limited. Maybe there's more options in the full game. I felt very kind of locked into the area I was, which I know like in demos, you are just practicing like in the beginning area. But I was like, I feel like it's moving very slow. And I was like, well, let's try the full game. So I decided to buy it. Not only did I decide to buy it, I decided to go all out and buy the deluxe edition, which came with like special outfits and shit.
Ooh.
So I dropped $40. I logged into the game and I saw in my little inbox that popped up, game popped up. Doo-doo-doo. That's not the actual sound, but that's the sound it makes in my head. And I saw I had mail and I was like, this is odd for me logging into the game. I pull it up and I have a letter from Behavior that says this: What's next for Islands of Insight? Seekers. Our final Islands of Insight update will arrive on October 30th, 2024, which will permanently modify the game to be offline only. This will allow Islands of Insight to live on for all seekers to find and enjoy while we focus our efforts onto our next projects. For what to expect, here's what you need to know. The online servers will officially shut down on October 30th, 2024. Any online progression that is not transferred will be lost. There are no plans for more content to support the offline version. All the online features will no longer be available. And then it talks about how the puzzles will still respawn. And then it says this, which cracks me up. There will be no bug fixes or balance changes with the final update. They're just abandoning the game completely. Now, I understand as a consumer, I could have looked at the updates because Steam does have like the recent updates. I didn't read those. All I did was buy it, went in to realize that they're abandoning it and I can only play it offline. So, one of the major aspects of me purchasing it was the possibility of being able to play with my friends who also like puzzle games. Well, that's out the window. And then the fact that they're not fixing anything, because what I do before buying games is I go through the reviews. And pretty much all the reviews were really positive. People saying that this was their favorite game, that they enjoyed it so much, that as far as puzzle games go, it is top tier. But there was always like an except they need to fix XYZ bugs. Now, to know that they know that these issues are in game and that they're not going to fix it and they're just going to go to offline, shut down the servers, and not fix anything is extremely disappointing to me as a consumer or as a person who plays behavior games. So I messaged the ladies right away and I was like, you're not going to believe this. And I immediately got a refund. So I was logged into the game all of less than a minute. I did get my full refund like the next day, but I was extremely disappointed because, and I get that if you look at like the Steam chart, the first month, it had a good amount of players and then it significantly dropped. And then sometime around summer, they gave it out for free and the amount of players shot up really, really high. And then it went back down again because not all people like puzzle games. But at
Yeah.
the same time, where was the advertising for it? And I'm going to admit,
I
like Islands of
yeah.
Insight, it came up on my Steam queue many, many a time because I love puzzle games. I had no idea it was Behavior.
Same.
Not until, yeah, like not until I was actually on the Behavior website for something. And I think that was around the time What the Fog came out. And it's there listed as a game. And I was like, it did not connect. I don't remember seeing any press for this. I don't remember any announcements, nothing for this game coming out. Maybe that's why people aren't playing it. It's totally different from what you're doing, which I get because you're known for playing, Behavior's known for their horror game, Dead by Daylight, but it appealed to a whole different audience. I can guarantee you that people that play Dead by Daylight, I bet a lot of them like puzzles too, because essentially Dead by Daylight is nothing but a big puzzle on how to not get killed.
Facts. I
critical
mean,
critical thinking.
yeah.
So I was just really disappointed. And it also tells us that they are focusing their efforts on new things. which now we know is not Project T. Now we know that they bought Red Hook, and we're assuming that there's something else coming down the line. But I don't know. I was just really disappointed in Behavior. Speaking directly to you, that this game, I mean, just came out in February. What, 8 months? And that's it, kaput. And we're going to leave it as is and not fix anything. I don't know if that's good business practice. You know what I mean?
Well, plus what you said, like I had no clue that this
Yeah.
game was coming out or anything or being developed by Behavior.
Hmm.
And I mean, I would have been interested if I had known. So yeah, it was kind of weird that they didn't market it.
Yeah.
Or
And
maybe
it's
they did and
beautiful.
I wasn't paying attention.
I don't
And
think.
one of the,
Oh,
yeah. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't think they marketed it at all to the DBD community. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Mm,
some of their other
yeah.
games, like we get little cosmetics and things for. I don't think they ever. Not that it fits with DBD, but in none of their live streams did they ever kind of plug this game. I
Hmm.
don't
Yeah.
think. Like they never mentioned like here's some of the other projects we're working on, and here's
Yeah. Like
Islands of
during
Insight. Like,
I'm just thinking back to like was it the live streams for their anniversary stream.
mhm.
So for the anniversary stream, they never once mentioned like, "Hey, here's some other projects we're
Hmm.
working on," or and I get it, like it's anniversary, so they're gonna focus on Dead by Daylight, but they could have thrown that in there. I mean, they mentioned Project T. It's weird. I don't know.
No, I was just saying, like, if you go and you look at the reviews now on Steam, almost every single one of them say the same thing. It's a beautiful game. And it is. I will say it was absolutely gorgeous. Looking around the scenery, you have wings, you can fucking fly. It was beautiful.
There's
who
flight.
who doesn't
There
want
is
to
flight.
fly?
Who does it? I mean, that's one of my things when I look at games. I'm like, okay, can I ride a horse or can I fly anywhere? And I'm gonna give you my money, and I get to do puzzles at the same time. Here's my wallet. But almost all of them say how disappointed they are that they're not going to fix anything because it was such a beautiful game and it was an amazing puzzle game. So, like, Behavior, you hit the mark with people who play those games. No one knew about it. Maybe it would help to advertise it to your fan base already, who
Mhm.
most likely play multiple different kinds of games. And maybe you would have had more people playing, but everyone says it was beautiful. It was well done and the puzzles were amazing. You just had things to work on in regards to progression, some
Yeah.
of the buggy things, and some stuff that was happening in the online mode. And most people praised you for your offline mode play. But then to abandon the game and to leave it in the state it is where things need to be fixed, I think was just really disappointing to people. And so people are like, well, what's this developer doing? What's this publisher doing? Sorry, they published it in regards to the gameplay.
Well,
Like it
yeah.
doesn't create trust.
Like how well does it have to do for it to be
Hmm.
considered dead immediately, kind of thing? Like, what's I guess, the threshold before you're like, oh, we better kill this game?
That is the question, isn't it? That's kind
Hmm.
of what we're gonna talk about in a bit is how successful does a game need to be? Because I don't know if it's like it's not worth their time and money to pay their employees to fix the game. I don't know how much it sold, so it's like did they just not see the like that was a cost benefit to them? But I would think at the bare minimum, if you come out with a game and there are known bugs, you should fix the
Hmm.
bugs. You should, at the very minimum, have a playable game, right? You should do that at the bare minimum. So it's kind of disappointed they're not even doing, to me, my opinion,
Hmm.
of the bare minimum. Like, if there's a bug, just fix the bugs. I mean, I don't know what the bugs are, if they're game breaking or not, but they're been reported.
Hmm.
They know about it, obviously, because it's in the press release or
Hmm.
yeah, that they had that they weren't going to keep going with it. So, and it's just kind of sad that in under a year they give up on a game with lots of good reviews.
Yeah.
Again, going back to how many employees they have, it's not like I mean, I don't know how many employees they had working on this game, but they have employees. I guess let me put it that way. Like they're a bigger company now, as we've said before, like you have the resources to fix this game. And it just appears I want to say lazy, like
Hmm.
Yeah.
they just feel like this isn't selling enough, so we're just going to abandon it. we're not going to try to revitalize it because they've tried to revitalize Meet Your Maker. Meet Your Maker has, I think, gone down player wise, obviously, since it first released.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But it's still going. I think they still have new content for it and stuff, but they're not even going to try to do something to revitalize the game. Does that make sense? Like they have with
Yeah.
like Meet Your Maker. Like,
Yeah.
let's try doing something different. Let's try some more incentives to play. They
Yeah.
just
I mean,
like
like
abandon
Twitch
it.
drops or something,
Mhm.
or like, I don't know, anything.
I
But
don't
yeah,
just advertise it with DVD. I don't know why they don't just say, "Hey, we're gonna give you free cosmetic from Islands of Insight, right?"
yeah, that would have
And
been cool.
this is our new game. This is our puzzle game. You can even offer like a discount for DVD players, and it would be a
Mhm.
huge one, or offer like additional cosmetics. Maybe I mean they've done that before, like because that's how you got the Death Garden cosmetics. I did boot up Def Garden right before it closed because if you booted it up, you got the mask for Def Garden for like Trapper.
Well, that's cool.
They could have done something like that, like, hey, if you buy Islands Inside your DVD player, we'll give you like a free cosmetic or something. That they could have done more. Basically, bottom line is they could have done more with this game than just abandon it because it seemed like it was a really good game. And if Queen liked it, yeah, I would totally like
Mhm.
dropped 30
Yeah.
bucks to play it with y'all.
And I
But
do mean like, yeah, when I'm saying good game, like as I was playing it, like the hour I played, I don't know if anyone's played Myst that came out in like
Yeah. It's been a while, but I forget.
1999, like early 2000, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting the feeling of. I love Myst, like Myst, Riven, all those games. I enjoy those types of games. Again, they're puzzle games. You explore some type of world, you solve puzzles. That's the kind of vibes I was getting. And I don't say that's anything. Myst is like iconic
mm-hmm.
as
Yeah.
a puzzle game. And that's what I was getting as I was playing this. I think it has and again, I did look at the Steam charts and I can see the amount of people who are playing, which I'm sure for behavior compared to Dead by Daylight wasn't doing nearly as well. But is that the game's fault or is that their fault for how they marketed it? If you're not going to have people play it if they don't know it exists.
Yeah.
So, like
Yeah.
what were you doing? I feel like you had a golden opportunity to show a game to your fan base or your players that was completely different that would have probably appealed to a lot of people if they knew that it was out there. The fact that I was on my Steam, recommendation page for so long and it took me forever to connect that it was behavior. I don't think that should have happened. Like there's a
Yeah.
disconnect there.
Very much agree.
Well, let's move on to Project T. We've already talked a little bit about Project T, but basically, September, they decided to cancel Project T and close Midwinter Studio out of Seattle. Here is a quote. So, Behavior made a statement, said this decision was taken following a diligent risk assessment from a commercial and a product perspective, which yielded unsatisfactory results. This sad news in no way reflects the talent of the team who put a lot of energy into Project T. All the employees were offered to relocate to our Canadian studios as we strongly believe in their expertise. Should they decide not to accept, they will be presented with a generous severance package. We want to thank them for all their hard work on Project T and wish them the very best for the future. So that was a statement from Behavior about Project T. And apparently, they also, further on, this is an article from gamesindustry.biz. Further on, they share that news of Project T's cancellation came through Behavior, with a social media post explaining that following a quote, thorough internal risk assessment and a deep analysis following a playtest, the outcome was unsatisfactory overall results. And so the project was canceled, just like that. And they closed the studio. I find it kind of odd that after one playtest, again, they abandoned it. They abandoned this one a lot faster than they did Islands of Insight.
Yeah.
But then, like,
I mean, yeah, I barely made it past playtest.
yeah, but then, like, as we said earlier, according to like Polly and everything else we've heard and seen, is that it wasn't like a bad game. Like,
Mhm.
It's just very odd that they quit on this one so early on, especially after announcing it this year, the Insider program. Like, I feel like they made, unlike Islands of Insight, right, where there was no publicity, they did have publicity with this one because they
Mm-hmm.
wanted DVD players to play test it.
I think
So,
they announced it during the anniversary stream.
Mm-hmm.
I
yeah.
vaguely remember that being
Yeah.
part of it. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. They're like doing another game. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, we signed up for everything in there too. We signed up for
Yeah.
the insider program. We signed up to be a part of the Discord to just keep track of everything. We were very interested because again, it's a takes place in the world of Dead by Daylight, but it's a different way to a new aspect of gameplay, which
Oh,
is very interesting. So I would really love to know what their quote unquote risk assessment found when they got such, as far as we know, and from everything that we've read, including like anonymous quotes from people on the project who like didn't give their name, but they were in press releases. Everything was going very well in regards to how I guess the game was being scored and the feedback that they were getting. So people who were part of the project were confused as to why the risk assessment came to this conclusion.
yeah. I'm assuming that the risk assessment company that they went through looked at like factors of how much, like, is it going to cost to market this game? How much is it going to cost to keep it going? And maybe that was what was negative. Maybe it wasn't so much like the gameplay and like the way people reacted to it. It was like, oh yeah, like we looked at the money and the money's just not good. I mean, that could be a thing too. Like you said, we won't know unless we would be able to see what their risk assessment, I guess, assessment looked like.
Well, I mean, we do know around the time if it had something to do with money, they
True.
bought a whole new studio.
Yeah, it could have been like, hey, you guys just acquired these other studios. This may not be financially good for you at this moment.
Hmm.
So that could be it too.
Well, what we don't know, kind of the behind the scenes, we don't know. We did mention, like, within a week they announced buying Red Hook from after this. But it takes time to buy,
Exactly. Yeah.
companies and all that. So it's not like they woke up the day after they closed Midwinter. It was like, let's buy
True.
Red Hook. Like, I'm sure that was in the work for months.
Yeah.
So I'm
And it is.
sure the Red Hook thing was like kind of planned. I don't know how,
Mhm.
but I feel like the Midwinter shutdown was not as, not a planned thing.
Yeah.
So the other question would be, is it the market, right? Like, do they feel like the gaming industry is too, I guess someone brought it up earlier, like oversaturated, with third
Yeah.
person shooters. I know Polly said it kind of played like Left 4 Dead. I love Left 4 Dead.
I do too.
And so I would have been interested in playing it. If you tell me it's like Left 4 Dead, I will like go play it.
Especially
So,
set in this world, because obviously we like it. Like,
mhm.
we made a whole podcast about it. So yeah, like that factor was got me very excited in the game. Because I do enjoy a first person shooter and I also enjoy Dead by Daylight. So those two together sounded great.
Yeah, we
That's
finally
so
fight
true.
back.
Hmm.
Yeah. Years of wanting a gun or a weapon to
The
take down the
only reason
killer.
I would play to shoot the killer in the face.
100%.
Take that.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I kind of wonder if it's not so much the actual. Of course, they say it's not the studio and not really
Hmm.
the game. I wonder if it's competition. They don't think it's going to sell
It could be.
because it is again
There's
marketed for
tough
DVD
competition.
players.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it would bring in, like, how many non-DVD people it would bring in. Does that make sense? Is
Yeah.
it really made to go outside the DVD community? Or was it going to
Yeah.
cost more to make than they thought it would sell for?
Because it's like, would it bring in like the Call of Duty crowd or like the Halo crowd or, any of these other big ticket like shooting games? It would be like, maybe you'd get like a handful. But I wouldn't see them getting too much else other than,
Yeah.
like you said, Dead by Daylight
I
and
also,
maybe
yeah.
a few others.
I also wonder if maybe So there's the casting of Frank Stone came out, right? And all this was announced after, correct me on the timeline, right? Because casting came out on
The
September
fourth.
3rd or 4th.
Yes, this was after. Like a
August
This was
5th.
couple,
after,
yeah, like a
a
Yeah.
couple
whole
weeks
week
Pretty,
after.
after.
yeah.
It also makes me wonder, which is something that I don't think that's really been talked about yet, is how well did the casting of Frank Stone do? Because it is very mixed. I feel like it's split down the middle with people who liked it and didn't like it. Again, we're holding our review until we finish our playthrough. But I'm wondering if maybe the expectations they had for the game didn't meet whatever mark or goal they were shooting for. So
True.
I wonder if maybe that played a factor as well.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, we can't really say about Frank Stone yet until we finish playing it to
Hmm.
know if it makes sense for non-DVD
Hmm.
players to play it. Like, would they understand what's going on having not played DVD, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Or if it's marketed very specific towards the DVD community. I have not watched anyone else play it. I know like Pixel Bush, who's like DVD lore master,
Hmm.
loved Frank Stone. I think another content creator I watch, Gab Smolder, she played it. She does not play DVD. She seemed like from her thumbnails, I have not watched it. She seemed like she enjoyed it and she's not a DVD player. So I'll be interested to see once we finish playing and seeing different content creators I follow and seeing like if they liked it or not. And because some of them don't play DVD. So, but yeah, it has been very mixed. And I don't know if it's a
Yeah.
DVD
It's
lore issue or if it's an overall gameplay issue. I will admit, I am supermassive games, I find them okay. Like, I'm not in love with them. The gameplay is okay. I like playing it better with a friend. If they
Hmm.
had made Frank Stone two player, online two player, not couch co op, it is couch co op two player,
Yeah.
found out. If they would have made it online two player, I would have bought it and played it with Queen, like 100%. But it's not. And so I'm just kind of like,
yeah.
like, do I want to play this by myself? Not really. Like, I enjoy watching Queen play it and us reacting together on it because that's how I've played the other games. I've played them with our friend Padfoot, and I
Hmm.
find that more enjoyable taking the journey with someone else
Oh
with the
yeah, for sure.
supermassive games.
And like even looking at the reception of the casting of Frank Stone, it seems like they're pretty mixed, average
Yeah.
reviews from like critics that are like, it was fine. It was kind of like Until Dawn, and that was about it. So
Everything
maybe
is
that
compared
was
to Until Dawn.
yeah, basically. But like that could be the other thing is maybe they were like, oh, people didn't like this as much. Like, is that bad? And then they had like an identity crisis.
I don't know.
I
They
mean,
just came out
yeah.
with Until Dawn
I
remake.
know,
Oh
but
my gosh.
I can't find anything on like how much it's made so far. I might have to do
Yeah,
some deeper
it's been
dives.
very very quiet. I want to say during the interview that King did, it was asked about, but I feel like, and I skipped around a little bit in the interview, but I
Yeah,
feel like that part specifically was a deflection.
it
I
very much
want.
was, yeah, because I watched it as well, and
Yeah, I
they were
watched it.
just kind of
Okay,
like, "Oh yeah,"
yeah,
and then
like
they kind
Cote
of moved
was,
on.
yeah, they moved on very fast because King in his video put up like what little each area was about, and it talked about how well Frank's tone did, and there was no answer, and then they just deviated and like moved on. Part of me thinks that it we were super excited for it as a community. It was very mixed, kind of like what Mocking said. I've had people talk about it that don't play it or do play it. For example, Lexi, who I follow, who used to be a DVD streamer and has now moved on. I don't know if she's still a Frog Whisperer or not. She did do a playthrough of it, and essentially her thought process was like the whole first like 2/3 of the game she was having a blast. Then something happened in the end, and I've heard that multiple times. Is that it was going good up till the end, and of course I don't want to spoil myself, so I didn't go any deeper. But there seems to be something that happens
It
that
falls
has kind
apart.
of turned people off. So I don't know if it's a storyline.
Ooh,
I don't know
interesting.
if it's because it's so lore DBD heavy. I'm not sure what it is that happens, but I guess when we get to the part, maybe we'll know what everyone's talking about and we
Yeah.
can give our opinion. But I seriously do wonder if maybe there were expectations with the amount of advertising and press and everything they did for it and pre-ordering, because I did pre-order it. I was one of the pre-orders. I got the deluxe so I could have, all the cosmetics and everything in actual DVD game, that it didn't do as well as expected.
Yeah, and I think that might be the going back to the risk. That's the risk of making a DVD
Hmm.
specific game. While DVD is very successful overall,
Still niche.
it's still niche. It's still horror. I feel like I'm going to talk about this in a minute about the horror game industry, but horror games are kind of niche. Not everyone likes to play horror. Now, some people like to watch people play horror games. I feel like that's a
Hmm.
thing. But as far as horror games go, it's not horror games are I feel like they don't sell as much because
Hmm.
they're not geared towards kids, obviously. So you're not going to get younger players. So yeah, it's just kind of niche overall. It depends if you like to be scared and how much you want to be scared. And Supermassive, while this is a horror game, I feel like the super massive games are not the scariest because it's mainly choice based. There's some quick time
Yeah.
events and there's choices you have to make. So as far as it's not like I said, I'm playing Silent Hill 2 right now, where you're wandering around and an enemy around the corner jumps at you. Like it's not the
I feel
same
like they're
kind of
more
scary.
suspense. They're more
Mm-hmm.
suspense type scary
Yeah.
with horror elements. So it's not necessarily a horror game. It's a game. It's a story game. It's essentially a choose your own adventure game with some horror elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did have another thought, like the Behavior is a Canadian-based company, and I don't know much about their economy per se. Obviously, I know more about the American economy because I live here. So I don't know if maybe that has a factor in like what games that they're keeping and what games they're canceling. Like I don't know. So I mean, that was just something that popped in my head. I'm like, well, it is a Canadian company, but
Well,
I couldn't imagine it's that much different because you are selling mostly to probably the US in general
Or Asia.
Well,
or Asia.
what's funny though is that they've now have two locations in the UK. So they bought
Hmm.
one
Yeah.
studio in the UK, and then
Yeah.
they opened their individual office in the UK. So they have two UK offices, and I think they might have more. If you go on their website, I think you can go see like all their little offices and stuff. So they're
Yeah, I
not
was
just in
looking.
Canada. I mean, I think their main studios in Canada. That's like where they started, but it seems like they're branching out
Yeah.
to be
They
more
all
international. So again, I'm not sure what the goal is behind
because they also have
that.
one in Rotterdam as well. I noticed that when I was looking at their website, which cool.
So it seems like
But
they're trying to branch out to worldwide, I guess. So that would open
yeah,
up
I think definitely
more.
they're trying to get a foothold in the
Hmm.
European market. And definitely the UK is huge. Obviously, they've got a lot of players in the Europe as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's just interesting to see them like branching out more that way. I'm like, come to the US, I need a job.
Oh, no, they were in what, Washington?
Midwinter
Mm,
was. Midwinter
Midwinter
Yeah.
was in
was.
Seattle.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
one of the
true.
places she wants to live.
Yeah, but it's
True.
Should have
closed
So,
hired her.
now. It's
well, they closed
closed.
it.
Behavior. She could have been your top graphic designer.
100% agreed. I'll
Rude.
look and see where Red Hook is. Maybe they're hiring.
Where is Red? Wait, hang on. I have the Red Hook article pulled up.
I know. I was
I was
like,
gonna move to that next. Let's see.
Good transition.
Yeah, let's talk about Red Hook. I'm looking at the game developer article because I was going to talk about. I'm trying to see if it says where Red Hook is, but I don't see it. I don't see it right off the bat. But basically, from this article, it says in an interview with them, Red Hook Studios co-founder Tyler Sigmund and Chris Barassa, I'm going to mess up his last name, joined by Behaviour Interactive CEO Remy Racine, explained why both parties pursued this transaction. For Red Hook, it was a chance for stability that would fuel bigger and loftier dreams, and according to Racine, it's a move that helps Behavior reduce risk as it finalizes its ongoing strategy shift, which we'll talk about in a minute, the strategy shift. So it seems like beneficial for Red Hook that basically Behavior is going to fund their projects, right?
Hmm.
Probably
Yeah.
Darkest Dungeon 3, I'm guessing. For Behavior, it seems like it is a safe investment. Somewhere I
Yep.
saw where they like how much Darkest Dungeon has
Yeah.
sold, and it's a lot. It's
Hmm.
very successful game. Darkest Dungeon 2 is very successful, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Like if you're going to invest in a game, invest in one that has been successful and leave the studio alone. Let Red Hook do what they're going to do and make another great game, and everyone wins.
And it looks like they're based in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Okay, well, I guess you're going to
Oh,
Canada.
Canada!
Eh? Eh?
It's right over the border. It's fine.
We'll come visit.
According to their LinkedIn, they're like very tiny. They have like 20 employees. I don't know if they've updated their LinkedIn recently, but
Oh,
just
yeah. It's one of those cases where a small studio happened to have a, a banger with the game that they released,
which is awesome. Like
which
that's
is
what you want.
amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the basically the Red Hook stuff. It was just very odd timing overall with the closing of Midwinter and then like, hey, we bought this
Yeah.
studio. I don't know like PR wise if this was like the best thing they could have done. They should put some more time in between
Yeah.
because it was just kind of jarring of like, yeah, we shut down this studio. I don't want to say fired. They had an option, but it's like we shut
I
down
know
this
it's sad.
studio and we're buying this one because I don't know if I'd be nervous
Hmm.
about Red Hook having like Behavior like with all the layoffs this year and then closing midwinter like, but my understanding is they're going to leave Red Hook alone and let
Yeah.
them do their thing. So hopefully
That's
that will
good.
all be fine for Red
Yeah,
Hook.
just don't make them make a game for you and you'll be fine.
Yeah, just take Behavior's money and do
Yeah,
that.
just do your own thing.
Yeah.
They get good reviews. I'm looking at their Steam page, like the actual page for Red Hook Studios. And under the about, it says the company was established based upon a shared love of making unforgettable and original games that are beautiful to look at and mechanically solid to play.
Ooh.
What?
Behavior saw
What's
that and was
No
that?
like, buy them.
spaghetti code.
What
They were
they
like, oh my God, they know how to make games. Buy them right now. Buy them.
Yes, don't let behavior touch any of your stuff.
Here, use this
You
code.
do
It'll be
you, Red
great.
Hook.
Yeah.
You keep trying to make those games that are mechanically solid to play, please.
Yeah.
But we do need to sit down and play the first Darkest Dungeons at some point.
I I have
It
like
looks
We
so many
it looks
games right
fun.
now, y'all. I
I'm
cannot.
so
life of a
sad
gamer. I have
that
too
I
many
missed out
games to
on this
play.
I
sale.
I haven't finished Silent Hill 2 and then the
I know
Lake
that's
House
important.
DLC for Alan Wake 2 is gonna come
Yep.
out. And then I'm interested in Slitherhead, which is by the original developers of Silent Hill, so we'll see
Oh,
what happens.
nice.
There's a lot going on. I do want to
Yeah.
play it. I mean, I bought it. I am gonna play it. It's just like
I'm gonna wait
first
till it goes
first
on
Silent Hill
sale
2.
again.
So, any other thought on Red Hook, or should we move on?
I'm good for moving on.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what this partnership brings. Red Hook has obviously done very well by themselves for being such a small studio. So I do like the fact that in multiple articles it essentially said yes, we bought them, but we're going to let them do their own thing. And basically, it sounds like Behavior is just going to be a backer. But that I find that interesting. But good luck to you, Red Hook, and your games.
I also wanted to bring up in researching for this podcast, I did find some information on live service gaming, which is what DVD falls under. These are games that are typically based upon some form of online multiplayer built around the idea of constant evolution over time through the release of additional content and updates, right? This is DVD. A
Mhm.
lot of games are like this. Sometimes these games are free to play, sometimes they're not. DVD is not free to play. But basically, a lot of the games we mentioned before, DBD, Texas Chainsaw, they all fall under live service gaming. So the pro to live service gaming is that obviously there's new content always rolling out. DBD does this with a new chapter dropping every 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, other additional content can be like a battle pass, which DBD has their Rift Pass. The cons, though, is that sometimes these games, to make money, especially like the free to play ones, they charge for cosmetics or they implement loot boxes. Loot boxes are very controversial because they're seen as gambling to some people
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know what you're buying exactly. And of course, like kind of like we saw with Islands of Insight, another major con is that the game can be abandoned at any time, right?
Yeah.
They could just snap their
So
fingers and poof, gone.
so Queen has experienced this with Islands of Insight. I have experienced this with Back for Blood. Back for Blood
Mm.
was made by Turtle Rock Studios. It is the successor for Left 4 Dead. Like when you talk about
Oh,
Project T
right.
being like Left 4 Dead, Back for Blood was by the same people and they abandoned it like about a year afterwards. They came out with the main game. I paid full price for it. My hubby paid full price. Was it as good as Left 4 Dead? The base game, I would say no, but I really liked. They did come out with DLC content. The DLC content I felt like was better. It was more tight story wise. The issue I had with Back for Blood was that there were a lot more characters you could choose from. So I felt like the storytelling was not as good because Left 4 Dead has 4 characters you can play, and all 4 characters are in every level you play, so there's dialogue between them. You learn more about them that way, but if you have all these other characters you can play, then the dialogue's not always the same. I don't know. I felt like the world building could have been better. Again, they abandoned it, and I paid into all of it initially, and then they made it very cheap to play. So I did play it
Mm-hmm.
several months ago. It was around, there was a period they made it, I can't remember if it was free or it was like $5. It was like really cheap. And people were playing it again. So I started playing it again. But it wasn't a bad game. But again, yeah, they abandoned it.
Rude.
They're not going to update it. I mean, the servers are still up. You can still go play it. It's not like completely abandoned, but they're not going to update it anymore, right? So that is like the big con and kind of the big gamble, right? Like you don't know if it will make it or not. And right now, as far as live service horror, besides CBD, we kind of mentioned Killer Clowns, which is
Mm-hmm.
fairly recent. And I guess it's still going because they had the Elvira DLC come out.
Yes. Which
I saw
Polly freaked out over. He did a on his stream when he found out Polly has been wanting Elvira in Dead by Daylight forever.
Uh-huh.
He did like this fake phone call to Matthew Cote
Oh,
where
I saw that.
he was like, I'm not upset. I still love you. It was so funny.
But can you call
It was
Elvira, please?
can you call Elvira? Because apparently she was up for grabs this whole time. It was it was great.
Yeah,
But yeah, apparently, I mean, you have to still be kicking if you're getting Elvira,
I
Queen
guess
of
so.
Darkness
Well, they have to,
herself.
you have to have money because licenses, you
Yeah.
have to pay them money to have their license in the game. So it's got to be doing okayish. I just don't
Hmm.
see anyone playing it still. So when that came out, I was like, that game's still going? Because I
Yeah,
just
it's
don't
still
see the
going.
DVD people playing it anymore, I guess is the
They've
thing.
transitioned off, yeah.
When it first came out, obviously all the DVD content creators, were checking it out and playing it. Then like I don't see anyone playing it. So, but I guess it's
Yeah.
doing okay-ish for them to get a DLC. That or they're trying to
Oh,
get more
yeah.
people in by having a
Yeah.
DLC. Could be either way.
Yeah.
Of course, we mentioned Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which they just cut the game price in half. So I feel robbed at this
Yeah.
point.
Same.
And there's been issues with Texas Chainsaw. I have not kept up with all the updates and stuff. I've not
Yeah.
bought any of the DLCs.
Yeah. It's mostly
So,
just random DLCs and like cosmetics and stuff. I haven't noticed anything big.
well, they have changes to the game. Like I follow them on Twitter and they have their Moretto Times, which is their game updates. So they still update the game. They're still like
Oh, that's
changing
good.
characters and abilities and stuff, but
Hmm.
I just when I jumped into it last time, I think we talked about this on another episode. It was just like as far as family goes, people just like DC out and then you're just playing by yourself and it was not very fun. Other ones horror wise, I would say Outlast Trials, which is not
Oh God.
it's not an ASIM, but it is you play you can play with 4 people, and
Hard pass.
and I can't get anyone to play it with me because I would totally
I
play it.
refuse. My heels are dug in. It's
Look,
not happening
I might
at
be persuaded
all.
because I was persuaded to play Labyrinthine and I loved it. Was I terrified the entire time?
I
Yes.
don't think Labyrinthine is as scary. I was going to bring up Labyrinthine because Labyrinthine, so other games like Labyrinthine, Phasmophobia, Lethal Company, those are still games being updated. I would count those as live
Pretty
service.
regularly. Yeah.
So, and like around the holidays, right? They changed the like environments to be,
Hmm.
it's Halloween time, right? So they bring out all the pumpkins and spooky decorations in the lobbies and stuff. So stuff like that.
I also
Um,
thought
okay.
of Friday the 13th game because
Oh, that's dead.
It is
that one's officially
dead. Well,
shutting
I think you
down
could
this
still.
year.
You can
Oh, they
still.
started on the server now.
Oh, they are
They're
shutting down
shutting
the servers?
servers down, I believe, online servers. I think you can still play like offline,
You might
but
be able to host your own
let's see.
server.
I
Yeah, so
say
it's
we just
playable
host and
until
play to get achievements, but no one will do that with me.
What,
oh,
We'll
Friday the
just
I mean,
take
13th?
the game. Yeah.
I have it. I'll do that
we
with
do,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
don't want to really play. I just want to play for achievements.
Okay, we can do.
yeah, so
Okay, we'll do that after
Okay.
this.
this
Okay.
says that
Let me
the last day
install.
to play is December 1st of this year of 2024,
Where is Friday the 13th?
and they will
Did you say December?
officially yes, December 31st, 2024 is the last time that you can play. Oh wow, this says well, okay, sorry, let's back up.
Yeah.
It says that the time has come. This was about 9 months ago that they announced this. Our license for Friday the 13th expires on December 31st, 2023. That says that on that date, the game will no longer be available for sale, both physically and digitally. However, the game will continue to function through at least December 31st, 2024, if you already own it.
I only have
Uh,
7 achievements.
it doesn't say
Oh, I
anything
have
else. I
nothing.
I thought they were shutting down the servers, but I don't know if that's the case.
Well,
Uh,
it said, didn't it say that after the 31st?
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
says that it will continue to function through at least December 31st. But then the person who posted this, and this was about 9 months ago, they said they haven't been able to play the game.
Installing
So,
now. We'll find out and we'll let
I,
you
yeah.
know.
I'm
So
installing it right now too.
it's interesting because I remember we played this a few times and we liked it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like
I didn't love it.
amazing.
I
Yeah, we
didn't
didn't
love
love
it.
it, but it was just interesting that I saw that update on Steam and I was like, oh, I was like, I completely forgot about that game. And so did apparently everyone else because they're getting rid of it.
Well, they had a lot of issues with the license. That's why Friday the 13th kind of died, was they couldn't keep updating it because of there's all these license issues with Friday the 13th. It's kind of resolved now, but there's 2 people that own the license. But
Hmm.
Jason's coming into different things. But I think as far as this game, it's kind of done. Like they're not
And
going to
I
go
Yeah.
back to
yeah,
it.
I believe they like discounted it to like 4.99. I don't know if
Well,
you can still
I feel
buy
like
it.
when we bought it all
It
together
was
as a
it was super
group, it
cheap.
was
Yeah.
super cheap.
So okay, well that was you're
Oh,
probably right then. That was probably when they lost the license, then it
yeah.
was like cheaper. But yeah, it was just like, oh cool.
Well, if you're listening to this podcast and heard a ding, it finished installing. So we'll play.
Oh, nice.
Ding.
Yeah, I think my audio alerts get
I was like, wait,
recorded.
do I
So
still have this?
it's
Okay, I
it's
do.
It's okay.
installed.
I'm installing it.
Um, and then so we'll let y'all know.
I only have
Yeah.
4 achievements. We got to get
I
achievements.
only have
I have
7 now,
2.
54. I think it's because I played Jason more. That's why I have more.
Yeah.
Going back, sorry. I thought of it and I was like, oh, let me bring that one up.
Well, it's relevant to
It
what we're
is.
talking about. Plus, one of the biggest dreams of everyone ever is getting Jason
Oh
in
yeah.
CBD.
And
And in that interview with Matthew Cote, there was discussion of it, but license, it all has to do with the license.
Well,
Yeah.
Jason's coming into other things now, so it is a
Yeah.
possibility now that the lawsuit's been settled. So he is up for grabs. Now, how complicated it is to get him, I don't know, because I believe it's divided between 2 people, and that can get tricky. I believe one of them owns like masked Jason, but then like because the
Mm-hmm.
whole lawsuit thing was over like movie one, and so you have like Camp Crystal Lake is separate from Jason with the hockey
Yeah.
mask. So I don't know if they get Jason if they can do a map or not, if they can get both people to agree on the license. But I think at this point, behavior will take whatever form of Jason they can
Whatever
get.
form of Jason they get, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, because they want to fulfill their horror catalog, and Jason would
Mm-hmm.
do that. I think we'll see him with hopefully next year would be my guess, or
Yeah.
he gets
And
announced
who?
next
Yeah.
year.
Because it seems like the screenwriter won the copyright suit, so maybe that could be next year.
It will be an amazing day for Dead by Daylight when that
Oh my
happens.
God,
And
people are
I'm
gonna
pretty
just
sure it
like,
would be a resurgent, kind of like when Michael came out, the Halloween
yeah.
stuff,
Hmm.
in regards to people playing again, because it's so wanted in the community. So if you hold the license to Jason, please reach out to Matthew Cote and tell him that
I'm
Kids Before Friends sent you.
I think he's already working on it because that's his job now. If you haven't watched the interview with the King and
Yeah, it's
Polly,
his job.
he's in charge of all the licensing stuff. So if
Hmm.
you have complaints about gameplay and bugs, it's not Matthew Cote anymore.
Yeah.
Like
He
Hmm.
just gets
he
the cool
is
stuff.
he is strictly involved with securing licenses and upkeeping licenses for Dead by Daylight, and that's his job.
Hmm. I
So,
guess if people are wondering if you have played the casting of Frank Stone, that is all behavior intellectual property.
mhm.
From my understanding, if it's going the way I think it's going, possibly Killer and Survivors being introduced into Dead by Daylight, which I think would be very interesting.
Mhm. So the other part I wanted to bring up, well, there's more stuff. There's more. But
But
I
wait,
feel
there's
like
more.
overall for horror gaming last year, 2023 was really strong. Overall with horror gaming, not just in the ASIM life service gaming realm, but also we had Dead Space remake, Resident Evil
Mhm.
4 remake, Dead Island 2, Dredge, which is a fishing horror game, and of course my favorite game, Alan Wake 2.
Mhm.
And but I wanted to bring this up because with all this Project T cancellation and stuff, it's kind of been the question of how successful does the game have to be. And this year it was announced that Dead Space remake, well, first of all, Dead Space remake did very well. It was received really well. It has an 89 score on Metacritic. But EA announced this year that it was not going to do the sequel because
Mhm.
of lack of sales. So I have no idea the numbers, of course, of what it's sold and how much it takes to make it and all of that. But it kind of made me think about all the stuff going on with behavior of them abandoning Islands of Insight and like how successful does a game need to be? And but then I also thought about Alan Wake 2. And Alan Wake 2's gotten great reviews, won many awards. But
Mhm.
my understanding, at least at this moment, is that I don't think it's made back its budget yet, or it's close to making back its budget. Now, I think there's different issues with Alan Wake 2 and that they released it digital only, but it is about to come out in physical. So that will probably help sales. There was a lot of controversy about it only being digital. I don't really care. I'm playing it. But but also Remedy is very dedicated to their vision, and even if Alan Wake 2 doesn't make back its budget, it's still moving forward with its games and its IP and its storyline. Control 2 has been reported to be in a playable state, so that will be coming out, I don't know when, hopefully next year or two. And I imagine they're going to do more with Alan Wake. So either Alan Wake 3 or he's going to be put in Control 2 because now all of their games are kind of, all the storylines are mixed together now with Alan Wake 2. So we can see all these characters in Control or Alan Wake 3. So to me, it's like a stark difference from behavior. And EA, of course, canceling Dead
Mhm.
Space of like, we're just going to abandon it. It's not going to make us enough money. And Remedy's like, yeah, we're going all in. Like, fans love these games. We're going to keep going, even if it doesn't make all of its budget back. I'm not saying it didn't sell well at all, but I don't think it made it didn't make a huge profit. I guess that's the way I need to put it. Like, is my understanding. Overall, that's kind of the whole live service, horror gaming stuff I kind of wanted to bring up because I feel like horror games is kind of niche because not everyone likes to
Mhm.
be scared. I get a thrill of being scared and I enjoy it. I enjoy a good jump scare, but not everyone does.
I don't.
Queen does
I
I
not.
like
don't. I do
I
not
like
want to be
watching.
jumped. Yeah, that is why I'm a distortion user, or I was a distortion user in DVD. I don't like being scared. I want to be a little rat goblin. I get a thrill out of no one seeing me and me getting objectives done. I get so thrilled out of that. That's my favorite thing is to not be found, to be like hiding underneath the killer and they don't see me. I like that stuff. I'm not a huge jump scare person. So I'm not really big into horror movies, especially like slasher movies and killer movies. I like suspense horror because I feel like there's a more solid storyline, but I'm not a huge horror person. I like fantasy movies, you
They're
know?
fun. I do like
There's
horror,
there's
but I
unicorns.
do get scared.
When Behavior had their layoff in June, they did release a press statement. So I kind of wanted to read through this and then we can kind of talk about how we feel about Behavior and what we
Mhm.
think they might be up to. So again, this is from June 4th of this year. So, Behavior Interactive today announced several strategic structural changes. These changes draw upon the company's historical strengths to craft an ambitious vision for its future success. Over the past 30 years, Behavior has earned a reputation as one of gaming's most highly regarded service partners, working alongside the industry's global leaders to develop hundreds of high quality titles. The company is also home to Dead by Daylight, a genre defining franchise that has welcomed more than 60 million players since its 2016 release. These two foundations have driven Behavior's increase from 575 employees to 1,300 employees over the past 5 years. Over the same period, the greater gaming industry has also witnessed remarkable growth. However, the industry's unprecedented popularity has also led to unprecedented competition. Within this challenging context, Behavior has renewed its focus on its historical strengths. These include the company's leading position in horror gaming, its production expertise, and its 30-year history of providing exceptional service to its development partners. These strengths have inspired clear ambitions for the company's future: lead in horror, lead in service, and explore the possibilities of location based entertainment. To pursue this clarified vision, Behavior will implement multiple strategic changes to its corporate structure, improving the distinction between its product, production, business development, and marketing resources. As a result of these changes, the company will reduce its team by up to 95 employees, 70 of whom are based in Montreal. Each of these individuals offered valuable contributions to Behavior and will be fully supported by the organization pursuing the next step in their careers. Neither Behavior service business nor the development of Dead by Daylight will be affected by these changes. I would like to express my deep personal appreciation for any employee affected by today's changes, stated Remy Racine, Behavior's co founder and CEO. While changes to our structure and strategic vision have led to challenging decisions, we are confident that these decisions will position us for continued success. As we begin the next phase of Behavior's growth, our commitment to excellence in our products and workplace culture remains steadfast. So that's what they released back in June. And so from this, it kind of mentions that their strengths are in horror gaming,
Mhm.
their production expertise, and providing services to other partners. They've helped on other games like we talked about before.
Yeah.
So do y'all have any thoughts, theories as to maybe what Behavior is next step is, what they're planning to do?
Yes.
Ooh.
Because in another press release, essentially the spokesperson that did that release for Behavior was like, hey, if you have any additional horror games that you're doing in your small studio, come our way. I think they're trying to purchase studios up.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to focus on horror, look into creating horror games, or look into purchasing studios that make horror games and see what they can do there. Because that's essentially what they did with Red Hooks, right?
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
purchased them. I guess Darkest Dungeon. To me, it kind of looks like akin to like a Dungeons and Dragons Boulder Gate dungeon crawler type game. I guess with horror elements. I guess. But that's what I think they're doing. So if they're not actually planning on doing like another release of a horror game, it looks like they're planning to purchase and maybe support other people who are doing horror games. We'll
Hmm.
see. Dead by Daylight is their bread and butter. I would hope that if their idea is to gather and garner more financial resources, then maybe they can look into quality of life improvements for the game more, especially since it seems to be that that's the game everyone's focused on. That apparently is the gameplay that they want. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll be interesting to see because even in the Island of Insights little letter, it talked about other projects coming along. So I'm wondering if those are actual behavior projects or projects they're going to be doing with other studios that they're maybe purchasing.
Oh, wait, I had this quote. Let me read this quote real quick. This is from Matthew Cote. This is from an article from thegamer.com from last year. There's no way we could have made Dead by Daylight if we were a big studio, said Cote. Clearly, being independent and smaller allowed us to create something that hadn't been seen before. Indie studios allow for experimentation and boundary shattering work. Big studios don't usually ever take chances and allow developers to tackle groundbreaking gameplay. Now, we've already discussed Behavior's not a little studio anymore, but they were, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then they're supporting Red Hook, so you could be right in that they're going to support a lot of smaller studios. Because I will say, as far as horror games go, I feel like indie games are the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like there have been some good AAA horror games, but like I said, they're not doing Dead Space 2. Callisto Protocol was a bust. That also came out last year. So it seems like when you get to like the big studios, the game has to make a killing for there to be more done with it, to have a sequel made. So, but like indie projects, they're not as concerned about the money. Like they wanted to make money, obviously, but I feel like a lot of good horror games are like passion projects, and
Mm-hmm.
it might only be like one or two people working on it, and they're doing it because they have a vision and they enjoy it. And so I feel like some of the best horror games are actually the smaller ones. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up. So I don't know what Behavior is really planning on doing. It just seems like everything else that they have made since DVD hasn't stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that goes to like, we were talking about like theories. To me, it seems like they're trying to find, at least, okay, like this is my opinion. They're trying to find a studio with a big hit that they can maybe market off of and be like, oh, hey, this comes from our studio. And like, look at like how cool it is and everybody loves it. So that's my theory. But I mean, other people have tried that. Like PlayStation has definitely tried to do that. I'm sure every big gaming company out there has been like, let's buy up the little places and find someone making a really cool game that we know is going to like blow everybody away.
Mm-hmm.
And then technically it's yours because you bought the company. But I
Well,
mean, that also like could backfire. So there's that too.
yeah, well, I think what happened, like with Red Hook will still be the developer. So, like on Steam, it will have them listed, but Behavior will be the
Yeah,
publisher. So, the Behavior gets like partial credit,
of
right?
course. Yeah.
But I think with Red Hook, it's been made very clear they're going to let them do what they're going to do. I mean, I got mixed feelings because it sounds like Queen brought up, it sounds like they're working on other stuff, right? Their press release
Mm-hmm.
for Islands of Insights kind of says that. But then they're buying all these studios. I don't know. Do they have an idea for a game that's going to work?
Maybe.
Or, or are they trying to hope that these smaller studios, because like you said, when they started out, I think any small studio or game is your passion project, right?
Hmm.
Theirs just happened to work. Maybe they're going to go out buy small studios that have their passion project that was successful and hope that they can also garner money off that and maybe create something new. I don't know. I wish some people like when they got bigger, they would still look at their what they created as a passion project. For
Yeah.
example, like it makes me think of Lethal Company,
Hmm.
Hmm.
which horrible graphics,
Oh God, I
by
know.
the way. But
But it
it
works.
is
It
so
works so
loved
much.
and it is hilarious to watch.
Well,
And the fact,
even
yeah,
content warning is the same. Like it's
yeah.
very horror-ish and it is awful. Like the
It,
graphics are not
I
good.
it's
know, but it's
purposely
proof.
awful, though.
Yeah, but it's proof that you can do something great with something so small that when it comes to consuming games, it doesn't necessarily matter I mean, one of my favorite games is Vampire Survivors. And it's just a roguelike game. You try not to get hit by shit. Like, and I've
Just
got all 200
yeah.
something achievements and I love it so much. And it's 8-bit game. Like,
Hmm.
And it's inexpensive. And it's
very
like
inexpensive.
they keep it constantly updated. And now it's on mobile. Or at least it is on my
Yeah.
phone.
Hmm.
Well,
I
the
don't know
same with Lethal Company.
I don't
Like,
know
they
about
keep it
Android, but on Apple you
constantly
can get it.
updated.
Hmm.
I feel like sometimes when they go big, they lose sight on what made the game so fun and special in the first place.
I think
And
so too.
yeah, I don't want behavior to go that route because obviously we enjoy Dead by Daylight or we wouldn't have a whole podcast dedicated to it. But at the same time, I know for all three of us, we haven't been playing as often as we used to because elements haven't been fun or they're making changes that we're like, why are you doing that? Or things like this is happening and we're like, well, as a company that concerns us as being part of your player base, it feels like there's something going on and we don't know. Like I can only hope that they're going to announce something super freaking awesome and the whole reason they got rid of Project T, the whole reason that they're abandoning Island of Insights, the reason why they've pretty much not kept up with a lot of the other games they've done. They're not going to do anything to What the Fog, which again is a missed opportunity for people who like to play like roguelite games. That was so fun to play. Like I thought it had a very solid foundation. You can definitely add more to it. Maybe just a couple bucks a pop, like Vampire Survivors. It was super super cheap. All the DLCs were like a buck 99 and it's still popular because not only is it a cheap game but it's fun and they keep everything updated. You could do that with What the Fog and have like a consistent game where you're doing little updates to while people are waiting for bigger updates for Dead by Daylight, you know? So I just don't know what they're doing. Like I want
Also,
to know. Behavior
also,
talk to me.
Yeah.
I would have bought merch for What the Fog. You put out little
Oh,
cute
totally.
figurines
So
of
cute.
of Dwight, Claude, and Fa-
Yes.
Fang. I would have bought.
So
I would have
A
bought
little
it.
generator.
yeah.
Totally would have bought it.
I did have a thought about like Project T and like the timing of it because Concord. Okay, yeah. So I didn't know if Queen was familiar with this game, but it's called Concord and it's a shooter game and it's a multiplayer title that came out from Sony and who was the other studio?
As you know,
Uh,
I am really into shooter games.
yeah.
I've
So
been
Well, this
Empire.
trying.
one made a lot of headlines
Yeah,
though
this
because
just
of
made
Yeah.
how
a lot
much
of
it
headlines.
costs.
Yeah, so it was
Oh.
PlayStation Studios and Firewalk Studios. And it took 8 years to develop this game and it cost $400 million. And it was apparently, and it launched at the end of August this year, and it had less than 700 players at the time of launch. And
Wow.
it sold 25,000 copies across PlayStation 5 and PC. And 2 weeks after its launch, they officially announced they're shutting it down completely, like the online play. And like this was just a huge flop for PlayStation. And people are wondering like, well, how much money did it have to make? It sold 25,000 copies. I think it was 39.99, I believe, and they're issuing full refunds to anyone who
Mhm.
purchased the game. So, I mean, it's insane that like after 2 weeks they were like, we're just not getting like our money back, I
Well,
guess, on this. And
it's
they just
insane
are
is
yeah. And
how
it has
how are they able
already
to lose that much money?
yeah, so they've already taken it offline. It was removed September 6th. However, it's been being updated on Steam, which people are confused about. Because I guess there was
Mm.
a recent update like this week
Hmm.
for the game, and they're like, why are you updating the game if you got rid of it? So yeah, it was just interesting that that came out, and then like Project T, they were like, we're gonna cancel this. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it is something that made big headlines in the gaming community because it's like, well,
I
and
guess
that it
I
was
can.
the same
Yeah.
question of like, okay, so you guys spent $400 million to make this game, but it still seemed fairly well received. It seemed like the problem was marketing.
I
They did
heard it
not
was
market the game.
I heard it was a decent game. That's just what I
Yeah.
heard. I didn't play it. There's someone I
It-
followed that played it. So
yeah.
it didn't seem like it was a bad game. I guess the thing is with that type of game though, there's a lot of competition too,
Yeah.
At
right?
the
I
same
mean,
time, if you spent $400 million in a game, how come I I feel like I am somewhat up in gaming community. I play a variety of games. And that you said this was Sony?
yeah,
So
this is a Sony PlayStation
it's a
Sony
PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Studio.
Okay, how come I didn't hear about this game?
Yeah.
Like,
Same.
as
Well,
someone who
same.
watches all the Game Award shows, keeps up to date on everything coming out, I feel like they just shot themselves in the foot. You can spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on games, but if you don't tell people they're coming out, no one's going to play. They probably had a niche following, but
Mhm.
like, what were they doing to promote it? I also didn't hear it on, like, when we watch like what's coming out and, was it the state of play and everything like that? I don't remember it being part of any of that stuff.
It
Yeah,
may have.
same.
If it was, then it
It didn't
wasn't
leave an
enough.
impact.
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah,
leave an impression because if it's just another team shooting game like
which is everywhere.
Overwatch and Fortnite and
Fortnite, yeah.
all of that. Like
Yeah.
there's so much competition in that area,
Because
which
it
is
says that
probably why they pulled it.
their like closest competitor was Counter-Strike 2, and it has more than 1 million players consistently playing since its release. So
People
they
love
had
shooter games. I
they had
mean,
what, 660 concurrent users when it was released. So it's like,
that
eh.
that has to be something to do with marketing and launching. And there's no way in HE double hockey sticks that a game that someone spent $400 million making, we would not know of.
And also, this was a similar thing. Concord was developed by Firewalk Studios, which Sony purchased in 2023. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, so maybe they were
Maybe that,
trying
yeah, maybe they got
to like
scared.
make money off of it, and they were like, oh, they've got this cool game, and then it just didn't go anywhere. But also, like you said, the marketing didn't seem to be there, and that seems to be the consensus in most of the articles I've read, were like, nobody knew about this game, and then it launched, and they're pissed that nobody knew what it was.
Well, you
So
can't be mad if you don't tell your
yeah,
fan base. Like,
so it's interesting, and then it goes back to that question we had earlier of like, what makes a game successful? Like, it sold 25,000 copies at $40 a pop, maybe more.
yeah, but if you're spending 400 million, that's
True,
probably,
and over 8 years in development, that's a lot.
Wait, how many
yeah,
people bought
that's
it?
someone's like life work there, you know what I mean? Like, feel bad for whoever really poured their heart and soul into that game. But maybe you should have divvied up 200 million that to go to marketing.
Yeah. Facts. So, yeah, it's interesting to just see that, like, a big I don't know if it'd be considered a Title A game, but, like, this big, massive thing such as Sony Studios has, like, a flop, and their idea is, like, just give everybody their money back and kill it, like, get rid of it.
How many
I
copies did
mean,
you say it sold, Christine or
It said
Norbert?
25,000.
At $40 is only
I'm sure
mhm,
it's
that's not a
only a
lot.
million. It's only a
mhm.
million.
Okay. I was like, that didn't seem like a lot.
Yeah,
I was
Um,
doing the
that's
math, so I
nothing.
was
That's
just double checking the numbers.
I'm
that's
not
you
sure.
know,
I mean, that was it
coin
said
in the bucket.
I'm assuming it was 39. I don't know how much it actually cost.
Well, theoretically, if it was $40, I just rounded it up to 40. Like, it's a million. Like, yeah, another
Okay,
10
yeah, it was
bucks isn't going to make a
$40.
huge
Yeah.
difference. And I'm sure there was stuff you could buy in store, but like,
Yeah, they also
it's
mentioned
it's
that
not even close.
yeah, that it was like I guess other shooter games are free to play and this one was 40 because I know Destiny 2 I don't know if it's free to play, but I know you have to buy the expansions to keep going.
It is
Uh-huh.
free to play. I have it in my Steam
Okay,
library.
yeah, because
Oh yeah,
I
you have to buy the DLCs to
You have to
keep
buy the
okay,
going.
yeah,
DLC.
because I was like, I've bought the DLCs, so I'm not sure
I
if
think
like the original was free, but it is. So I guess that's the other problem. And then Oaken, again, oversaturation. Like shooter games are huge. Like you said, Overwatch is like a massive game.
mhm. And
Even Apex Legends is like
yeah, that one's on fire.
massively played.
Fortnite,
And
which is
Fortnite,
massive. What's the game Dead by Daylight had? The
Death Garden?
Death Garden looked
mhm,
very. If you go look at footage or recordings of people playing it, it very much reminds me of Fortnite.
yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that one in there because it was an interesting like thing that popped up this year, and I was just like, man, what happened? Like, what's happening in the gaming community?
I think
Um,
also pricing is a thing because
hmm
as a consumer, obviously, like the price of video games has gone up in the last year or
Yeah.
so. Because
Oh yeah.
like you just said, like Concord was 40. I paid 40 for Texas Chainsaw, right? It was 30 or
Mhm.
40.
I think it was
Like
about 40.
I think it was
Yeah.
40, and
We
like
pre-ordered that puppy.
uh-huh, and like I just bought Silent Hill 2. I bought the deluxe, so that was like 80 bucks. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like the AAA games used to be like 50, 60
Or that's what
bucks.
it is. AAA game. I was like,
And
I can't remember.
and now it's like up to 70, 80 bucks. Like there's been a 10 to $20
Yeah.
increase overall on games, which I think is also a
And they're
turn
like,
off.
hey, let's make a deluxe edition that's even more, and you get like 3 extra things. So
I
that's like
mean,
a
that's
big
what they
thing.
did with Frank Stone. I think I spent like 50
Hmm.
Mhm.
because I got the deluxe edition. The regular version was 39.99, and I pre-ordered the deluxe version. I can't speak version of it.
Pebble.
Uh, yeah, I am like thinking I am in my head at this moment in time trying to think of new builds to do. I was talking about this with Mocking earlier. I keep thinking I need to put Pebble in play. So that is in my mind, and that's probably why it came out of my mouth. But yeah, I spent like 50 bucks on that, which is hefty.
It is.
I
Like
mean, I bought the deluxe edition of Hogwarts Express, and it was almost 80 bucks, I think. It was, yeah, it's a lot.
Hogwarts Express.
I don't, why
Legacy?
did I say that? I'm so sorry. I meant Hogwarts Legacy.
You're
My bad.
fine. It's late. It's late. It's past 11 o'clock, y'all.
Yeah,
I'm
whatever.
down.
Whole train, okay? It was only $80.
I was thinking there's a Hogwarts game I didn't know about. How dare you?
I feel like I'm down to go to drop the money on deluxe editions if I know I'm going to like the game. Like Alan Wake 2, obviously I bought the deluxe. Silent Hill 2 remake. I was like, please don't screw this up, Bloober team, and they didn't. So it's been wonderful. So I did drop the deluxe for that. But I feel like games where you're like on the fence of buying it, like why would I buy the deluxe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like then you don't want to get into games being like pay to win either. So depending on what's in the deluxe, don't do that either. But going back to behavior, I'm not sure what they're planning. I don't know. I guess part of me doubts if they can ever make another hit like Dead by
Like,
Daylight,
yeah.
or if they just need to not try to maybe they just need to not try to make another game. I mean, I think Meet Your Maker was an interesting concept. It's not my kind of game,
hmm
but I think they thought outside the box on that one. It just didn't equate to a lot of people playing it.
Yeah. But for the people who are playing it, they love it
Yeah.
passionately for those that do play it. So, and I know that Otz has played it on his stream.
Hmm.
I know Spooky's played it, that a lot of people within the community have played it. And sometimes they do still people play it if, DB is not working or they're taking a break. The concept I find really interesting, and there's nothing like what it is. Unfortunately, I don't think it hit the way it hit. I also think sometimes maybe they stray too far out of their zone, and maybe they just need to stick with things that are good. Like if you do watch or listen to the playthrough right now, I'm doing a casting of Frank Stone. both Mocking and I said we would have really loved a game that like deep dived into like Trapper. We love Trapper.
Yeah, he's great.
Or yeah, or one of the original killers, or some of the original survivors. We would have really loved that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I wish they would make DVD content that
Mhm.
expanded what's already there
Mhm.
instead of creating new
New.
characters like Frank Stone and all the other like characters that are in that game. If I really wish they would have given us the backstory on a killer or even some of the survivors. The
Mhm.
survivors have interesting like history. Some of them do,
Like
especially like
Felix
Felix and
and
Elodie.
Elodie.
Their parents were a
Yeah.
part of like a group that was against the entity. Like you
Yes.
could have like really deep dive into like their background and even like their parents. Like I feel like even if it wasn't exactly the main characters of DBD, like if it was their family members, like you know, like I would still be interested in that because it's connected to characters we already know in the game. I think having this disconnect from the main game is how it's that's kind of how I feel about Frank Stone right now. Like it's kind of connected to DBD. There's like entity stuff going
Mhm.
on, but it's not connected to anyone we know in the main DVD game.
Mhm. It's
And
interesting to see
maybe
new
it will tie
people.
in later, but like as far as right now, like you found some cool little collectible dolls that look like the different
Yes, I have.
killers.
I have.
And
They're
there's
very
some little
cute.
like throw-ins, like if you pay
I did
attention
a
to the game,
generator.
you did a generator, yeah. And then there's like
Mhm.
they have the afterpiece tonic. Like there's little names and stuff that are
Mhm.
from killer add-ons and stuff, like if you're paying attention. But there's not really any deep connection with the main
Mhm.
DVD game, besides you doing a gen. And there were skill checks.
Yep, yep, yep. I did okay.
um, yeah, don't blow that skill check and, let the killer come at you.
True.
He's supposed to be dead, so he shouldn't have come at me in the first place. Just saying, spoilers. But
That's
no,
his fault.
yeah, but I get what you're saying. And I feel like if they did make other stories related to current characters we have, they could do it in different styles. Like if they were to do like a Felix Elodie type thing, I would love for something like that to be in the style of like a Tomb Raider game.
Hmm.
That would
Oh,
be
that'd be
so
cool.
much fun, right?
Mhm.
Running around as Felix and Elodie on the island and trying to solve things. Because there's a lot of crap that goes down on the island, and there's a lot of lore associated with that island as well. With Halloween coming up, that's a big part of it too. You can do so much to still keep it like DVD and horror adjacent, but present it in different formats, like they're doing with the casting of Frank Stone. But I agree, I'm playing through it. It's enjoyable, but at the same time, I really wished I was deep diving into the lore that I already know and I already have questions about. Like there's an opportunity to flesh out your stories that you might not be able to do just inside Dead by Daylight. Yeah, missed opportunity behavior. Give us more lore of the world that we already know and love.
So, do we have any other thoughts on behavior and all their missed opportunities? I feel like they've missed a lot of opportunities. Hopefully, they will get on track and figure out. Maybe they're having an identity crisis. Like DBD has had an identity
Yeah.
Maybe.
crisis in the past, especially when they introduced skill based matchmaking. I don't know if they're
Ugh.
having like an identity crisis of what kind of game should we make.
Maybe they
Yeah.
just don't know. But at the same time, like I still think it's good to branch out. I am super disappointed with Islands of Insight. Again, it was a beautiful game. The puzzles were enjoyable. It's would have been fun to have been in a world with like thousands of different puzzles spawning in. Do it at your own pace, do it wherever you want in the world, kind of thing. Like I like things when I can just do things at my own time. But it's really sad that I didn't even know it was a behavior game and I'm playing Dead by
Yep.
Daylight forever. Kind of like I feel like all of us when it comes to like consumers, when we like something, we like it and we'll support it. Like book wise, we all have certain authors and stuff. No questions asked. I will buy your book.
Yep.
because I support you and I know that
100%. Yeah.
I get quality stuff from that. And I feel like that's the same way with a lot of behavior stuff. We want to try and we want to support your games. That's the whole reason why I dished out $50 for Frank Stone. That's the whole reason I did play. I did pay for What the Fog. I think the ladies waited to get it free. I was impatient.
I'm cheap.
We, yeah, we buy a lot of stuff or we save up shards to get, characters. We support what we love, but we can't support you if we don't know. So I really would like to know like who is in charge of the marketing for that because it was a missed opportunity. Again, I don't know what the loss was from it. I don't know how much it took to make. All I know is that you did have a fan base that you have now disappointed. Who, for a lot of them, from reading reviews, this was their first game they've ever played from Behavior. And now they don't ever want to support anything that you do, which is very sad.
Yeah. That is sad.
That's a good point too.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's something I wouldn't think about. Like, oh, well, now I don't want to play any of your games.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to that the whole point about live service gaming, right? That
Yeah.
DVD, like if it the big con is it could just end at any point. And
True.
Yeah.
if they're gonna give up this easy on Islands of Insight, who says the next game they come out with they're not gonna give up just as easily? And then Project T too, they gave up on Project T really early. Now it never came out technically, so it's are they just scared to like
Possibly.
commit to a game? Because I can't see that they're like running low on money with them buying all these companies. DVD's still making money. They're still pumping out the chapters and the cosmetics. So I feel like it's not like a money issue. I could be totally wrong. I don't have their
Mhm.
books, obviously.
If
But
you'd like to give us your books, Mocking's husband is an accountant.
Yeah.
yes,
He can help.
he can look them over for you. First, we don't live in Canada. That's probably
That's
totally
true.
different. But I mean, basic accounting. I mean, your accounting books are your
Yeah.
accounting books. Taxes are different. But um, yeah, I just don't feel like money's the issue for them to not keep updating Islands of Insight. And I can't see that it was so hard to do these bug fixes. Like to me, that's what floors me is that they didn't even fix
Mhm.
the bugs. Like, come on.
And leaving it as is. And we know that behavior you don't always care about money. You made Hooked on You.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
So, like, what's going on? I
Right. There's
understand it
nothing
was a
stopping
fan.
you.
Yeah, I understand it was a fan service game. I'm almost wondering if they wanted to distance Island and Insight from their normal games that they do with people like, oh, it's not a horror game. Like, I think it's okay to have multiple genres of games. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't have to
So
just be
it
horror.
doesn't just have to be horror. So I don't know, but
Or
I'm
does it?
sad. Apparently now for them, I mean, if that's what they think they're good at and that's what they think that they want to do and that's the direction they're going, okay. If it means that it's going to improve Dead by Daylight, maybe give us more things, more community stuff, more interesting aspects of gameplay, then I'm all for it.
I don't know.
You
Maybe they
know,
just need to concentrate on DVD. I mean, they are
DBD
coming out
2?
with new game modes. Maybe they need to work on making more of them permanent because when they did 2v8, their player count skyrocketed and it's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to skyrocket again once they release 2v8 again.
I'm just so
Yeah.
excited.
We haven't really played since 2v8. We miss it.
I
I,
It
know.
was so
well,
much fun.
I have gone to where I pretty much just play when like Chaos Shuffle was out recently, so I played some of
It
that.
was
But
all right.
they didn't have a rift for it or anything, so it was kind of eh.
Yeah.
But it was triple, oh no, yeah, it was triple blood points. So I was like, well, we gotta get Alan Wake closer to P100. So, but yeah, I
It
feel like
was
I really only play like when events are going on. Like I think that's where
same.
I've gotten. And like the
Yeah.
Rift just came out, so I'm like, okay, let's grind through and get some of the Rift done. 2v8 will come out. The Haunted by Daylight event, I'm really looking forward to.
Mhm.
But in between now, the events and stuff, I'm just like, I rather play other things. I rather play some of these single player games I bought, like Silent Hill 2, Alan Wake, and there's some other ones I've I've bought on sale that I have a list. Like, I'll just play those instead and not be as stressed out trying to play DBD. And DBD, we haven't talked about the recent changes. They're changing a lot of perks and stuff, and I don't know how I feel about that either. That'll be a whole other
Yeah.
episode. We'll talk about that. But and it's sad because I used to play DBD like every day for like at least,
Daily.
yeah,
Yeah.
daily, play a few rounds every day, and do stuff in the game, work on the rift, whatever. But now it's not a priority. It's just
But yeah, I also feel like gameplay is drastically changing
Hmm.
in the game as well in regards to metas, in regards to how killers are playing due to changes coming. Because I will admit, with the Chaos Shuffle, it was super sweaty, at least on our end in the games that we were getting.
mhm.
It was not very fun. Like, I don't remember it being like that last time
I don't either.
where
the
it was so much sweat. I felt like I had more fun
the theory is it was the triple blood points.
that it just drew people out
People
of the crevices
wanted to get
and
us, so killers wanted to get as many points as possible, which really you get more points if you farm
Rude.
killers, but
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess they were just like, let's hook everyone, let's kill everyone.
let's
And
slug everybody, let's tunnel out.
I think overall for me, the normal game mode has just gotten stale. I think that's
Yeah.
what it is like I've just gotten kind of bored with it. So when Chaos Shuffle 2v8 comes out, I love 2v8. That was like the best. And I'm looking forward to the new 2v8, some more killers.
Yes.
Some killers will have classes now too. When they come out with new stuff, I will play it. But otherwise, I feel like the normal gameplay is just really boring. It's getting really boring, and they're changing perks. The recent changes have felt very killer sided, which I do play killer, but I like playing Survivor with Queen and Morbid, and
Mhm.
so it's
Yeah.
just kind of like we played
I don't
last
yeah.
night, and I felt like they were all hatch
It
games
was
pretty much.
it wasn't yeah, I got hatched twice. I think you got hatched once. They weren't super enjoyable games. They did kind of destroy our gameplay with how we have our perks with the new distortion, which we're probably going to do a whole nother podcast on distortion as well.
Oh yeah.
But it some of the changes that are being made don't make sense in regards to the perks that they're nerfing on survivor side and the perks that they're buffing or changing on killer side. There's discrepancy. They're nerfing the perks that counter certain killer perks, and then they're making other killer perks that didn't have like that gameplay aspect where I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It kind of infuriates me. Like, they're nerfing things they shouldn't, buffing things they shouldn't, and they're not keeping the balance of for every survivor perk or every killer perk, there's something that offsets it on the other side. They're throwing that all out of balance,
Again.
and I'm not understanding it. And I feel like it's happened on both sides, but I do agree. I feel like it is a little more survivor sided in regards to what they are nerfing, and it hasn't made gameplay as enjoyable. I think there's changes that they have to make to at least realign what was thrown out of whack. I know from looking at posts and stuff they have some things coming down the line, but this also goes to I don't think behavior always understands the consequences of the changes they make or their own mechanics of the gameplay. Their fog whispers do. Like when I was watching people play after the update, they understood. When I watched other people play, they understood, but there seems to be some type of disconnect between whoever's running stuff on behavior, understanding how to. I don't want to use the word balance, but that's the best I can think of is how to balance the killer survivor perks to create some type of equal footing, so to speak,
Hmm.
when it comes to running these trials.
Yeah, I feel like we could have a whole other podcast
Yeah,
on the recent changes because so
we will.
I
Will
won't get into it. So
you want one? Let us know. I
I
think we're ready to talk.
I know I'm like I have thoughts, but I'm gonna hold them for right now so we can end this one on
Yeah,
behavior. So
yeah, we can wrap up.
yeah, we're at like almost 2.5 hours. So
Oh nice.
Oh, yeah. You guys got a long one to listen to.
Well,
Congrats.
we'll
Go
let
on.
it down. It's at 2 hours 23 minutes. So I rounded up, but
Well, I
so
can close out if
yeah.
we're
Well,
ready.
I think we're good to close out. You
Yeah.
good, Marvin?
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We super appreciate you. Also, sorry for the delay on comments. We tried to heart and message and reply to comments recently on YouTube. Life gets busy and sometimes we get behind. So we did that. So yay! Thank you for those that comment and liked everything that we posted on our socials in the channel. Again, please check out the playthrough of the casting of Frank Stone. Let us
Oh,
know your thoughts if you've
also,
played the game. No
also
spoilers.
our shenanigans video is out.
Oh
Yes, yeah, we
yeah.
posted a fun little shenanigan video so you can see us playing and just having a fun time in the game or creating fun times in the game when it looked like we were going to lose anyways.
And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you guys want more videos with that, with our gameplay and us talking to each other as we play, let us know. We can always make that happen. We pretty much record all of our games, so we can always go through and do a longer video if you'd actually like to see full matches. We're happy to do that as well. So, again, thank you. We appreciate you. And as always, we want to wish you a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. And bye.